Finally, the princess made her choice, and a sigh of relief escaped her father's chest. His hope for openness and honesty on the part of his daughter is connected with his pride. Despite the fact that the princess could choose anyone, the discussion of candidates for the role of groom did not stop. It's just great that any of the princes will respect the princess's choice. After all, Duke Leopold's throne will finally find its owner. Everyone was looking forward to the wedding taking place this year, and then everything would be simply amazing. But now the princess had to make her final choice public, exposing herself to the attention of everyone. With a sigh, the princess announced that her heart did not belong to these princes. The emperor could not understand at all what the lady was talking about. After all, she said that she was preparing for marriage, but in reality, everything was completely different. The emperor could not understand why she was mocking him, but the princess insisted that she was simply telling the truth. After all, he promised to give her the freedom to choose a groom, and she spent a lot of time thinking about this in the castle. The princess came to the conclusion that none of the applicants were worthy to become her husband, which confused the prince. The man was trying to figure out who this mysterious young man was, and he found it difficult to believe that it was the crown prince. But the crown prince had already started a family long ago, and no one could understand who really deserved her hand. And here he is, the one she is ready to marry, standing in front of them. The main character decides that in this life she will follow her path no matter what. In bewilderment, the maid could not understand how this could even happen. And the princess, looking at her with heavy accusation, asked why she tried to poison her. After all, the princess trusted the maid as if she were her own kinswoman, and yet she poisoned her, claiming that she had no choice. After all, if she had not taken this step, Great Highness would have ordered the destruction of all her relatives. And again, it all had to do with my father, all again because of His Majesty. In a past life, by the will of His Majesty, she married the second prince, and when she gave birth to his child, she was killed. After this, a new life began. This time, the main character married a knight from a noble family, only to evade the orders of the great sovereign. However, they were killed by hired assassins who were attracted by the Majesty. And the third life began. The princess wandered around the castle, trying to break all ties, which she managed to do. She hated to even think that the maid she trusted was trying to poison her, and this terrible fact forced her to end her life with her own hands. She also reproached me. The death of the princess is the end of this terrible story, where she was betrayed by those whom she considered close. Thus, even in her new life, the princess could not escape the power of the great sovereign. I wonder if she can survive this time. If she has another chance, she will change her destiny with her own hands. Now there is nothing that can stop her. So her damn life starts here. People said she didn't shed a single tear. Many considered her heartless. The princess was so majestic and refined that if they were in her place, they would simply faint from all these tears. This is already the fourth attempt to restrain myself at the funeral of my own father. Traveling into the past is like a magnificent immersion in the luxury of time. The princess, without even realizing it, still violated something. If she could go back to the time when her father was alive, she would ask him not to save the prince. Then it would be a completely different story. 3 months later, her father, Duke Leopold, received orders to stop the conquest. The time has come for decisive action. The crown prince, lacking experience in battle, took on the role of leader, putting his subordinates at risk. The game got serious. As a result, the princess's father became one of those who sacrificed himself. Life versus chivalry is a tough but noble game. Understanding that his father died protecting the prince is a bitter truth, but perhaps a more than worthy sacrifice. The princess only needs her father because he is her support and the meaning of life. Everything else is emptiness. She realized her stupidity. Letting go of a loved one is like having your heart torn into pieces, from which it is so difficult to recover. No matter how many times the princess goes through this, pain remains an integral part of her life. Heinz approached the lady. She hoped for his consolation. But what to expect from such a man? However, the princess believed in miracles. Perhaps the master believed that heaven was not for him. But the princess thought differently, believing in a bright future. The master must fly to heaven, so the lady must not be discouraged. Let the light of hope always burn in her heart. The maids noticed that despite the raging storm, guests were still arriving. But it's too early to hold a funeral for Duke. An unusually heavy snowfall shrouded everything in atmospheric silence during the funeral. The man said it was unfortunate and promised to pray for the Duke's soul to ascend to heaven. However, the princess reaped an unexpected benefit from this snowy disaster. If the imperial envoy had not been delayed due to the blocked roads, the princess would have already stood with a sword at her throat. Her father always told her to be loyal to the imperial family and never rebel against the Lord. She was twice horrified by his orders. Well, what could she do? This time she decided not to listen to him again. The princess's heart was full of hatred. The princess hoped that her father would forgive her anyway. If they meet again, she will ask him to hug her. She didn't want him to praise her for coming back from a happy life, but she needed his forgiveness. The man told the princess that it was very cold outside and she should go inside so as not to get sick. The princess replied that everything was fine because the snowfall would end soon. The servant was puzzled as to how she knew this. The lady explained that it was just a hunch. Today was the last day of her father's funeral. The servant did not understand what to do with the guests who could not come due to snowfall and suggested extending the funeral for a month. The princess needed to think about this. First, they needed to wait until those she called bastards showed up. The servant said that decisions need to be made quickly, since preparations may be completed soon. The princess asked for 10 minutes. She asked Heinz to wait 10 minutes. He was surprised, but agreed. The main character did not know whether she should stay with her father. The man and woman noticed that they were a little late. He said that he should have left earlier, but that would not have changed anything. The carriage would still have arrived at the wrong time. They arrived just in time, but the princess could not say that she was glad to see them. The young people noticed that she was on the street and asked Adele if they were late. The princess denied their lateness and was glad to see them home. Pathetic wounds from the princess's past, her uncle and aunt, Gellin Ernst, maternal aunt and cousin, and the one who turned Ernst into a dump. His passion was always stronger than the feeling of kinship. Gellin too quickly lost everything he had in the casino, but even at such moments, his mother did not renounce him. And even when he turned to her for help, she could not refuse. He then used the name of Duke Leopold to continue his gambling. He accused the princess mother of selfishness, claiming that she was a miser, not wanting to give him money for games, although there was plenty of it in her pockets. After Adele's mother stopped helping him, his true nature became clear. Less than a month had passed before the father of the main character kicked him out. Recently, he called their parents soulless, but now he comes here carefree with a smile on his face. How impudent he is. An observer noticed that Adele looked stronger and fitter than ever. Her uncle claimed that her father was a kind man, and he sighed sadly, remembering his departure. Auntie even had tears welling up in her eyes. Adele asked her uncle to remove the flowers, but the man did not understand what this meant. He asked how he could leave the bro part alone. Adele shrugged off this concern, although her words carried pain. The uncle was amazed at her coldness and asked if she looked down on them. Adele justified herself, saying that it was not her style, and her father would not approve of such behavior. My father never tolerated my uncles. She just wanted to calm him down. The uncle was shocked and yelled at her for her insensitivity to his efforts. The grandparents were wise enough to understand the complexity of the situation. Adele asked if he felt the same way. The uncle approached Adele, ready to talk. His wife tried to calm him down. No matter how much his niece has grown, he must endure it. This is the only way to help her survive. Her uncle suggested that she not remember what happened in the past because he was too young then. Being stupid at such a young age sounds incompetent. Now he has changed and repented of his actions, but his recent behavior suggests otherwise. He claims that now they can live like a normal family. Blood connection. But for Adele, this family only adds to the grief. Adele is now alone, so her uncle invites her to spend time with them. She's going to have a fiancé soon, so he wants to make sure that everything will be okay with her. Family boundaries drove her into a hopeless situation. She allowed herself to rely on this man. Uncle said that it doesn't matter what happened in the past, because now they are elders and can help her. Adele didn't understand what he meant. She's so happy, hoping he's not lying. Then Adele asks him to take care of her. This time she makes the most of it. The main character noticed that she looked very young. Her past life lasted about 3 years, which was her longest life. The princess wondered how many more chances she had left, or this is her last chance. The truth is that she is afraid. The princess is afraid that something is her last chance, afraid that he will die in vain, and it makes her so angry. Angry because she simply ruined her 3rd attempt at life. If only Adele were a little smarter, a little more cold-blooded, stronger, she wouldn't be so scared going down this path for the 4th time. She must continue down this path, even if in the end all she gets is public disgrace. Because she wants to live. The main character decided that she would definitely succeed. This time, she will definitely be able to. Heinz arrived. He reported that he had heard that she had given a room to Mr. Gellin. It really was like that. My uncle was unhappy because she put him in some kind of annex. Apparently her family didn't train her properly. It's just been too long. And the main building needs care and maintenance. But the aunt did not expect that she would reject him in relation to the grave. The uncle noticed that his brother-in-law always presented himself as sincerely good-natured and believed that Adele was as stingy as her mother. And yet she is just like a beautiful flower that grew in captivity. Even though she is tough, she won't be able to put up with all this. Their blood relative will soon despair and begin to grieve for his dad. Adele knows what Heinz is going through, but she is not going to tremble in front of them. The man could not be sure that everything would really be fine. But the princess assured him that everything would be exactly like that. She told him to remember to prepare well for the funeral. Many important guests will arrive soon. Heinz asked if she was expecting one special guest, but Adele denied this. Soon a real disaster will arrive, that same guest. But this time, the main character has a plan. Adele just wants to tidy up a little. Finally, their true nature comes out. Relatives quarreled and quarreled with the servants. Aunt was in shock from the fact that she had already woken up. She asked if she would mind if they received guests while the funeral ceremony was going on. Aunt wants to believe that she can become the mistress of this house. If she did not want to become a mistress, she would not have said such words. Aunt said that she didn't want to say anything like that. She just thought that Adele was tired of receiving all these guests, and that's why I wanted to help her. Uncle noticed that this was indeed the case. Adele is probably still not over her father's death, so they will help her. They just want to show themselves in the best light. It's so disgusting that they are trying to use the death of Adele's father for their own selfish purposes. Adele allowed them to do this. Now, she will move the same way she moved in her first life. It will arrive in about a week. We are talking about the second prince, Zernos. That feeling of his sword piercing her heart, and that gaze of his with mockery still sits deep in Adele's heart. Maid Rin entered the room. She couldn't believe that the Duke was no longer with them. Adele is not that kind. The fear that the maid felt because of the Lord, the princess cannot understand it. The princess asked Rin how her vacation went. Despite this, the princess is unable to help and feels betrayed. The maid was grateful and commented that she had a wonderful trip. She provided a gift made by her loved ones, who wanted her to personally give it to the princess. Rin hoped that the lady could quickly recover from everything that happened. The memories are truly terrible. Adele thanked the maid. Now, when Adele sees her face, she immediately remembers herself lying in a pool of blood. She needed to rest, so she sent the maid away. But finally, she asked how she thought she would continue her father's work. Like Countess Leopold. Rin happily noted that if she became a countess, it would be just wonderful. Now Adele should have a good rest, and if she needs anything, she can call Rin. Imperial Palace. The man did not understand why he had to go to the funeral of the Count, who did not even save his life. The Crown Prince's wounds are still not healed, and the long journey may take a toll on his health. So he should go there as his representative. The emperor sent many imperial princes there and asked him if he still did not understand why he was sending him there. Now, Lady Leopold is going through hard times. Due to the loss of her father, she is clearly not in the best condition. And in such a situation, she needs a person who will open her heart to her. He must show his best side and become Count Leopold. A huge estate and untold riches can become the possessions of Zernos. Zernos informed the emperor that he would personally go to the funeral and console the lady, and after that, she would be all his. The emperor told him to prepare well for tomorrow's departure. Zernos thought that he received some kind of boring and uninteresting task, unlike his older brother. But how nice it is to think that he can become Duke Leopold. Although, on the other hand, who if not him? Suddenly someone came out of the bushes. It was Van Zernos' younger brother. The prince was horrified, because when he hears Van stutter, his blood boils. The grain is in a good mood, so Van can be grateful, because that's all for today. But if he irritates Zernos next time, then it won't end so easily. Van stood up from the ground and understood that Jack would swear at him again. The maid shouted that she had made a mistake and was very sorry. She asked for forgiveness for the last time. Adele said Rin didn't do anything wrong. She just wanted it that way, without any good reason. In the main character's final life, Rin and her family would most likely have been killed. For the emperor, this is the easiest way to end everything. And yet, driving her out is not so easy, but the princess thinks that this is the surest way. Adele ordered her to leave because she gave her a letter of recommendation, so she could easily find a job anywhere. The lady called Sarah and said that since Rin was no longer with them, they needed to hire a new maid. Sarah asked if the lady had someone on her mind. If so, she will do her best to train her. The princess doesn't have anyone special in mind, but it would be nice to hire Orpa. And Sarah must ask her aunt and uncle to meet her. Lunch is coming soon. She just asked me to tell them to have lunch with her. Sarah apologized and believed that she was about to cross the line. But the princess should be careful with Mr. Gellin. After all, he is the one who spoke very badly about the count and his madam in the past. Adele told Sarah to be sure that she had no plans to get close to Mr. Gellin. Now she just wants to ask him for a favor. So Sarah doesn't have to worry and invites these two over for lunch. The maid understood everything. The emperor has high hopes for her marriage. Although Adele does not want to dance to his tune, outright refusal is clearly not the best idea. To become an aristocrat, you need to get a vote from every member of the noble assembly. This rule was created in order to remove incompetent individuals from the post of head of the family. But there are a couple of downsides to this rule. Most vote for their successor, and Adele was an exception. She is woman, and the Leopold family is a family that raises knights, commanders-in-chief, generation after generation. And if war breaks out, everyone doubts that Lady Leopold will be able to lead the army. Many thought it was fair to say so. Even if the lady was not a knight, it's easier for the husband to simply abandon the position of the duke. The emperor expressed his point of view, and many supported it, and even Adele began to think so. She's a woman, but that doesn't mean she's unworthy. Plus, she really loves this family. The person who will send the entire northern region is not her husband. It will be her. The uncle called Adele to join. The girl didn't understand at all what was going on in his head. In any case, it seems that the preparation and cleaning of the house is slowly ending. So uncle asks how long they will live in the annex. Adele calmly said that she would definitely inform him. So he shouldn't put pressure on her. If he continues, she will have to kick him out. The uncle was simply horrified, and the princess told him to eat because the soup would get cold. He turned to Sage and said that even if Adele said it, he didn't think she would do it. It looks like you are their niece just like your mother. Also sharply. Adele knew that this must have hurt them. She just found it funny to know that they thought their pretense would work on her, although it worked in a past life. Adele asked her uncle if he could do her a favor. He replied that of course he could. After all, she can ask him for anything. He can even get a star from the sky for her. Adele asked how he knew that she needed stars. Still, the princess said that it was just a joke and asked him to calm down. Then the man asked what she wanted. Adele asked him to find her a groom. He knows that the absence of a person in the position of a father is a huge problem, and the princess can't cope alone. It would be nice if her fiancé headed the family. Uncle said in horror that she had them. They already help her enough. The family needs stability. Sage said that they would find her a groom, and he would definitely be the best. This will be a great candidate. The man asked if she had someone in mind. Adele always thought that her father would find someone suitable for her. Adele hoped that her uncle would fulfill her request. He noticed that this was a serious request, so he should discuss everything with her aunt. The lady said that if he could find her a suitable partner, she would reward him generously. Uncle asked if she really wanted to reward him. The lady confirmed this. This is a temporary solution in case any problems arise. The more candidates he finds, the better. Adele wants to choose carefully and slowly. The main character will make sure that these bastards tear each other apart. Adele added that if possible, they should spread the word that she was looking for a groom. Now, all that's left to do is wait. Gellin asked Sage if they really should do this. My wife said that of course we should. After all, this will open up a lot of opportunities for them. At her age, girls often change their minds. So there is no guarantee that she will help him for a long time. Gellin noted that this was indeed the case, especially considering her mother's actions. It won't be long before she tells him to repent of the mistakes he has made. She's not one to turn her back on him. A vile woman who blinded the whole family. Adele is her blood relative, so most likely it will be the same. For 10,000 coins, they gave her hope. They arrived here in time for the hurricane and felt sorry for the poor thing, so they were very lucky. Sage suggested that this time they should be generous and help their beloved niece. Adele looked at the newspapers. There she wrote that Lady Leopold was looking for a groom. Eligible candidates can contact Mr. Gellin and this is the first time in the history of the kingdom that an aristocrat places an advertisement in a newspaper looking for a groom. Now her uncle is definitely inundated with bribes and requests, even though he said he needed help. Gellin believed that he was just in time because she was probably already reading the newspaper. And all this is not in vain. Ads perfect. Crowds of bachelors took to this announcement like flies. As the princess asked, everything is going smoothly. Adele said with a smile that her uncle was really great. She didn't even think about this method. Gellin said he knew she would like it. Now he will soon provide her with all the suitable candidates, so she need not worry and just wait. The princess thought it was excellent. She's so excited. How naive. Young Lady Leopold sold herself in order to get married. The emperor will be happy, and at the same time a little nervous. She will soon meet new guests. 4 days later, the second Prince Zernos arrived. He asked Lady Leopold to accept his condolences. The princess was grateful for his kind words. She didn't expect His Highness to come to them in person. Duke Leopold is his brother's savior and the one who sacrificed himself. This is very important for the imperial family, so he was obliged to be here in person. Zernos was very sad to hear about the Duke's death. His Majesty values the Duke's loyalty very highly. Adele noticed that he hides very well behind the mask. He didn't even flinch, such a bastard. The prince said that the lady was very dear to the Duke. He can only imagine how painful it was for her. For her, he is ready to fill the void in her heart, at least a little. Adele said, with a smile, that his words made her so happy. But my uncle could not allow this. Members of the imperial family are, of course, an excellent choice, but not for everyone. Gellin Ant decided to appear before His Highness, the second imperial prince. He said he was heartily grateful to him for his presence at the funeral ceremony. The prince noticed that he had already heard this name somewhere. This is the same family that had a lot of money, but they had to sell all their titles because of their son who lost all his money in gambling. Zernos asked if he was that same son. As expected, how good it is that they met. To get her hands on the family wealth, Gellin needs someone stupid and obedient to become her husband. For Gellin, the presence of the second prince, who is quite suitable for the role of her husband, is so unpleasant. Adele asked her uncle to take care of His Highness. Perhaps this is all for real. Gellin asked the lady to provide it to him. The prince was wondering how it happened that someone other than Lady Leopold was in charge of the funeral ceremony. The uncle justified himself that now Adele is not in the best condition, both physically and mentally. But one can understand her. After all, she lost her father, so she also had to conduct the funeral ceremony alone. Gellin feels very sorry for his niece, which is why he presides over the funeral ceremony. Adele said that if possible, she would like him to stay longer. It's just a cheap trick. The maid was trying to do something, but the lady said she was fine. The princess considered herself pathetic because she was afraid of Zernos. The emperor's first plan was related to her marriage. If she beats him without any problems, who can become the head of the family? If she could have changed the plan, then everything would have been different. All she needs to do is come up with her own plan. The more ambitious Gelen becomes, the more worried Zernos will become. So, they can enjoy each other. The prince approached Lady Leopold and said that as soon as he saw this bouquet, he immediately realized that it was intended for her. He thought that this bouquet matched her hair color perfectly. But these roses will never achieve beauty and her beautiful hair. He's just lying about how attractive her hair is. After all, before that, he said that they were soaked in blood. While holding her head, she cut them off, and now she says that these roses will never compare with her beauty. But he still hopes that she will accept them. The model was very grateful. All she has to do is play along with him. And as soon as Zernos considers that he was able to win her heart, he leaves. The prince wanted to invite her to take a walk with him. Suddenly, my uncle came running. What a timely moment he showed up. The prince was angry because it was him again. He told His Highness that it was cool outside and he could lead him to a cozy room in which he could warm up. And he asked Adele if she would surprise him for a couple of minutes to discuss the wedding proposal. The princess agreed. Princess Adele said goodbye to the prince, and she was grateful to him for the flowers. She ordered this bouquet to be used to prepare her a petal bath. Gelen selected candidates for her and eliminated all unsuitable ones. As she requested, he has invited a few here, and they should be arriving soon. Adele has some time, but she still had one unresolved question. Of all her past 3 lives, the longest was the one in which the princess married Zernos. It is not at all clear what the emperor wants. If his goal is the birth of an heir, then why the second prince? More guests than expected have arrived at the estate. Gelen and his wife are not enough for everyone, so he asks Adele for help. If he really wants this, then Adele doesn't see a problem with it. All this tasteless courtship helps her much more than she expected. All attention goes to whoever will be her future husband. No one even thinks that Adele could become the head of the family. But the truth is that many will be skeptical about her becoming the head of the family. This means that conversations between Adele and the noble assembly will not be pleasant. But this is not such a big problem. She's got a couple of tricks up her sleeve, strong tricks. But the problem is that they contradict the will of her father. Adele decided not to burden herself. These tricks are a must if she wants to become the head of the family. The only question is when to use them. The maid came into the room and said that this candle would help her sleep. She noticed that her mistress couldn't sleep lately, so she prepared it for her. Adele was grateful for the concern. The maid is glad that she liked it, and so I wished her good night. Suddenly the princess heard footsteps. Her body didn't listen. This cannot be the emperor's tricks. There's no point in killing her just yet. This is an insidious scheme created by someone else. A man began to approach her, but the main character hit him and snatched the knife from his hands. He is the candidate she met today. She decided to ask what he forgot in her room. The man asked her to put down the weapon. The lady said that in such a situation, even if she kills him, she can get away with it. The man said that he simply entered the wrong room. Adele ordered him to tell the truth quickly because she would only count to 3. The candidate shouted that it was Mr. Gelen who ordered him to do this. He said that if he spent the night with her, he could marry and become Duke Leopold. The maid asked if everything was okay, and the mistress asked who prepared this candle for her. The girl admitted that it was Mr. Gelen, who said that he was worried about her well-being. The princess told her to call this sweet couple here right away. The key method of the main character was the use of this couple. They brought a bunch of people here whose minds were clouded by the title of Duke Leopold. They closed the chapter for the second prince, and they exposed her as an aristocrat who had lost her grip. However, they crossed all boundaries. Sage didn't understand at all why she called them at such a late hour. Not long ago, a man snuck into Adele's room. He wanted to intimidate the princess. Gelen shouted that it was a bastard. The uncle said that it must be very terrible and asked if she was hurt. Adele said that she was fine, and besides, she grabbed him and detained him. Gelen laughed. Looks like she was very lucky, but he told her something very interesting. He said that this was all the work of Gelen. My uncle started shouting that he was lying because she is his favorite niece and he would never do that to her. Sage also came to her defense and said he was right, and Adele should not be fooled by the words of this fraudster. This is probably some kind of trick to sow confusion between them. The princess noticed that everything was so strange. Before calling them, she asked the other guests, and it's not at all clear how it happened that they told her the same thing that they told them, that if they spend the night with Adele, they will become the next duke. Uncle shouted that this was all wrong, because it's all a lie. Perhaps he was just in a hurry, but he only did it so that she would find the right person for her. He swears to her that he did all this for the good. Besides, they are family, so he hoped that she believed him. For the sake of the family, they should try to understand each other. He does the same thing he did with her mother. Even after all these years, he is still the same trash, and it looks like it's time to take out the trash. Adele told him not to worry because she understood him perfectly. The uncle asked if it was true. The niece confirmed this, where they are still a family. She added that she plans to look closely at the incident. Everything was as expected by my uncle. He knows she won't do anything wrong, and he repented that he should have been more careful. They were thrown out along with the suitcases. Sage didn't understand what her niece was doing. The princess said with a smile that she was kicking her aunt and uncle out of her house. But then she said that she was a little mistaken, and they must get out of these lands. The uncle shouted that they did this for her, and it seems that she is going too far. Sage supported her husband. Adele asked if they meant by many that they extorted money from guests who came as part of an advertisement, or sending the scent of a candle, which was a paralyzing poison, straight into Adele's room. That night, they probably thought that she wouldn't have taken any medication, and then they would have won. True, they had no escape routes. Adele thought they were very stupid and ordered them to leave immediately, for this is their only way to save their miserable skins. They should be happy that they were only kicked out. Odal is not going to punish them in a good way. The princess will only say one thing: they should not dream of returning here. The uncle noticed that she was really her daughter. Adele even looks the same. He has helped her so much all this time, and she thinks that they are on the same level with him. Adele said that he was certainly not on the same level as her. Adele acts as the head of the family, and he is the one who sold his own family. Gelen probably thought he could sit on her mother's neck forever. Her uncle asked if she really thought that one of the princes would want to marry her. Adele told him not to deceive himself, because in the end, he would still be left alone with his shortcomings. Uncle tried to bring her the best of the best, and now she dared to kick him out. He thought she was ill-mannered and arrogant, and today he will beat her arrogance out of her. But Lord Eildor Shanks dealt with him. He returned immediately after hearing about Duke Leopold's death. The Lord asked if his lady would mind if he wanted to be alone. Adele reacted well to this, and they agreed to meet at the estate. In the past life of the main character, a man who did not know what to do with his grief cried alone. In her second life, when Adele was married to Eldon, she had to escape from nightmares that began because of the corn. The princess lived in constant terror, but Eildor accepted her as Lady Leopold. Eldor asked if the lady wanted to talk to him. She thanked him and apologized. She was incredibly grateful to him. She told her father that Lord Eildor had come to see him. The knight asked that he would like to be alone. During her third life, Adele tried as much as possible not to cross paths with Eldor. In this life, she wants to do the same. But Eldor needs someone to comfort him. Eldor always respected the father of the main character, and he is the one who sincerely cried at the grave of Adele's father. The princess cannot help him, but she understands him very well. When she approached him and saw that he was in tears, the guy began to say that he would explain everything. The princess asked if he had anything he needed to explain. Adele can't leave him alone right now. The princess knows how much he is hurting now, so it's okay. Eldor doesn't have to worry about anything and can cry if he wants. The Lord said that he could not cry when the lady looked at him, even if she allows him to. His loyalty to the code of chivalry prevents him from doing this. It sounds quite unexpected because he is so uncompromising. That's why she chose him in her second life. Adele asked if she couldn't watch even if she liked it. If the Lord wants to cry, then there is nothing wrong with that. Blindly suppressing your emotions will only make things worse. Adele is grateful to him for everything he did. The princess thinks father would say the same thing, and she offered to throw out all the grief together. Lord Eildor admitted that he had been discourteous, and he asked if she would forgive him for his meager knowledge of etiquette. The princess said that now it was much more important that he hurry up and return, because the sun would rise soon. Never in Adele's life had Lord Eildor knelt before her. This is how he expresses his respect. He, Lord Eildor, wants to become her protector and put his life on the line for her. He asked for a chance to protect her, regardless of his life. But the main character did not want to involve him again. Now that the funeral ceremony is over, the prince is probably planning to leave the estate soon. She already took up a lot of his time. Of course not. Zernos has nothing to do in the royal palace, especially considering that the emperor doesn't trust him. Zernos doesn't trust him either. He prefers the possibility that the crown prince may die in the near future. He hates the emperor very much. And Adele is the swamp who faced his hatred. After all, if it weren't for her father, he would have already become the crown prince. Zernos said not to worry about it. Although she is worried about his departure, the emperor also calls him. The prince must leave for the capital tomorrow, and she will go with him, because his highness is calling her. Formally, the emperor invited her to the royal palace. Considering that Adele turned out to be not so simple, Zernos most likely asked the emperor for help. How pathetic this is. A trip to the royal palace is an excellent opportunity to understand the true intentions of the emperor. The only problem is to get rid of Zernos. Although, an even bigger problem is Adele's marriage. Girls need to take care of some documents before leaving. There are a lot of them. The servant asked if there would be only one companion with her. Zernos will be with her, but given the situation in the region, she plans to take Lord Eildor with her. The servant said that he would give him a message and begin preparations. The princess was grateful. Adele couldn't concentrate at all. The main character has only Lord Eldor in her head. The knight's oath confirms his devotion to his emperor. For a knight, this is forever. If the princess accepted his proposal, he would protect her even more than in her previous life. Once, Lord Eildor had already died because of her, and that was enough. But Adele needs his strength and power. The main character didn't know if she could make the right choice. Zernos said that if they set off today, they would be in Martin's territory in a couple of days. After spending the night at Martin's residence, they planned to travel the rest of the way by train. Traveling by carriage may be uncomfortable for the lady, but he asks her to bear with her for a little while. He wondered if she was traveling first class on the new train. The princess informed His Highness that he need not explain everything to her. Zernos had just explained everything for her sake and thought that she did not want to listen to him. The princess believed that she should explain everything to him. He must have forgotten which family it belongs to. Finally, he shut up. Adele would prefer to correspond with him so as not to hear his terrible voice. There is an old story about a depot on Martin's property. She talks about a long time ago, the protector of Leopold's territory. The red dragon reduced the possible amount of mana in the region in order to stop the evil dark magicians. Adele is grateful to him for this. Peace was restored in Leopold and its surroundings. But there was one snag. Due to the amount of mana in the region, it became difficult to use magic, and due to this, the creation of mana trains became impossible. Then, the first Duke Leopold decided that the depot should be built next to Leopold's territory, on Martin's territory. So Leopold's land is truly fertile. The princess understood that he needed some kind of context to flatter her. But she found it hard to believe that he really thought he was doing her a favor with this story. Looking around, anyone can understand that this land is magnificent. Grain is the one who said he hates the long winter and this place. The residence is probably very loyal to her. In the past, the region developed rapidly. The prince doesn't want to point out. Suddenly a fluff monster appeared. They are attacked by a monster, and Adele opens the carriage door. She just went crazy. To develop a plan, they need to know how many monsters are there. The prince shouted that this was not her task. This was the work of the knights. But the princess said that this was her task because she was Lady Leopold. The earth is shaking. The monsters are already here. Lord Eildor told the lady that these bastards were huge and incredibly fast. But the lady said everything was fine. First of all, you need to get the prince out of the carriage. If he stays inside and the monsters overturn the carriage, he will die. There are only 5 of them. None of the knights had already fought the cannon. Nobody except Eldor. The fluff is found only in the northern region. He is bloodthirsty and only appears in groups, making them very difficult to fight. They see poorly, but they have excellent hearing. When the lady saw the rifles in their hands, she was simply horrified, because that way they will only attract the gun's attention. While they are detaining them, the prince must be taken away from here. The monsters that rush at them have weakened a little, and still, even one will be a huge hindrance. Adele knew there was a trick to kill these monsters, but everyone was panicking and couldn't think straight. If this continues, they will all die. In such a situation, the correct solution would be to try to kill them. Camilla deftly fought these monsters. All the knights were in complete shock. Adele was shocked that they were standing like idols while they were being attacked. They were out of their minds. She ordered everyone to take their swords in their hands. Lady Adele is very talented with a sword, even considering that she started training much later than other children. If she continues to improve her skills, she will be able to become a knight in the future. Lord Alvin was told not to tell anyone about this. No one should know that her daughter knows how to wield a sword. But the girl did not understand why this was so. Apart from her and Lord Alvin, no one killed anyone. She believed that her father was afraid of her becoming a knight. Adele's father told her that if she ever killed someone, she would never be able to touch a sword again in her life. Eldor apologized to the lady. He was appointed her assistant on this journey, so he will remove this destroyed carriage and find a new, better one that only they can offer him. The princess said that everything was fine because it was not his fault. She thinks that the prince, the rest of the way, will want to travel alone to get some rest. In this situation, it will be difficult to get a new carriage. Eldor apologized for putting her through all of this because of his incompetence. Princess Adele reiterated that this was not his fault. The carriage was not destroyed because of him. Eldor must be devastated by what happened. It's all because of the type of person he is. In this life, Adele will not marry Lord Eildor. In the past, it was just a promise, as they say, a trifle. Only for Lord Eildor, Adele was only one who must be protected at all costs. He believed that whatever he did showed his devotion to her father. And even taking this into account, Adele doesn't know how, but his attitude towards her was a little different. Eldor asked if he could ask the lady one question. The Lord didn't understand why she hid her skills. Lord Eildor doesn't know this, but in her second life, he asked the same thing. Adele corrected him by saying that she wasn't hiding them. She just didn't have the opportunity to show them. The princess promised her father that under his protection, she would never pick up a sword. It was a little difficult because she had not held a sword in her hands for so long. But nevertheless, she was grateful to him for choosing the right words. The Lord told it like it is. And suddenly he asked if the princess wanted to become a knight. The same question as in the second life. And the same answer, no, that won't happen. But Adele has changed. The average age at which one is admitted to the Royal Academy is 10 years. Eldor did not understand why His Excellency did not send the lady to the academy. Adele said that if her father were alive, she would have asked him. Lord Eildor apologized because he had said this out of stupidity. That's not what the princess meant. Adele cannot tell him that she did not go to the academy because of the emperor's intervention. She doesn't know what her father was thinking about then. The lady had not held a sword in her hands for so long that she was a little tired. The Lord said that if she wanted to sleep, he would stay outside for her safety. But Adele said everything was fine. This place is ideal for a nap. After all, this is a new carriage. The lady asked if he would lend her his shoulder. The Lord did not understand what we were talking about and asked again. After all this, the princess was tired, and the fact that he is here does not bother her in any way. So, if it's not difficult for him, you can become his shoulder as a pillow. The Lord didn't understand how he could. As usual, he is very difficult. This was the best idea that came into the princess's head. But if Eldor is uncomfortable, he can refuse. Monsieur did not refuse and sat down next to the lady. The Lord said everything was fine, but the main character saw that he was definitely uncomfortable. But he still didn't refuse her. His hair is so hard and coarse. If the princess asks to lie on his lap, he definitely won't be able to stand it. But even so, he will not refuse, because this is Lady Leopold's order, and this time he will most likely accept her offer. Adele noticed that there was once a knight who married a lady whom he was supposed to protect. He protected her during the wedding, but only as a knight, not as her fiancé, and so she asked whether the knight who married her would be happy or would feel used. The lady who took his freedom and happiness. I wonder if he will be offended by her. Her attempts to drown out her feelings of guilt so far look cowardly. Eldor said he didn't think so. He believes that the knight simply wanted to protect her. He wanted to seem pleasant to her. All he knew how to do was protect her. Adele decided that was all. She heard the answer she wanted to hear. He is irreparable. The second prince was welcomed to the Martin residence. After he heard the news about the prince's visit, he began to make intensive preparations. Mr. Martina hopes that the guests will enjoy everything. It's so difficult to eat and look at Zernos's face. An old friend of Adele's father, Count Bayek Martin, who overcame the snowfall to get to her father's funeral, and Adele is grateful to him. Bayek noticed that the last time he saw her, the princess looked rumpled, but now she looks much better. Adele was grateful for his concern, and he also believes that they were very unlucky to meet the monsters along the way. The fluff, having lost its food due to the snowfall, has left its main habitat and is gradually approaching the lands near the residence every day. When the Count first heard about the incident, he was shocked that he could not stand on his feet. After he heard about His Highness's actions, he was even more shocked. Fluff is very dangerous even for veterans, and he was able to defeat 5. They'll be hunting for the cannons soon, so he'd like him to tell how he did it. The second prince's experience would prove far more useful to them than swords and shields, likely because it would allow them to overcome difficulties and solve problems with wisdom. Zernos, absorbed in attention, gave out all the information from his stupid head, except for the information that Lady Adele rushed into battle alone, and information about how strong the fluff is. So he took all the laurels for himself, although he himself would have been scared by the smell of gun. She is grateful to him for digging his own grave. Zernos said that he did not believe that he had accomplished a feat, and Lady Leopold probably thinks so too. The princess noticed that Count Martin was very modest. Everyone on his expedition is a veteran or a recognizable soldier. Everyone knows about this. It is an honor for the Count to hear such words from the princess. But the truth is that the next year will be much more difficult. Last year there was a good harvest, and the number of monsters increased. They don't have many people, and they can't hire anyone. Hard times have come. They are short of people, but they could just ask Leopold's house for help. The princess thought that he did not do it out of respect, because they themselves had their hands full. Moreover, the trick that His Highness used, if only his people could learn it. The prince told the Count that he was tired, and he added that he and the lady were heading to the capital, according to His Majesty's orders. So they will need to leave after they eat. Then all they need is to get permission from His Highness. Adal means permission to participate in the expedition. His Highness is known for his patience and wisdom. So the princess thinks that he will allow them to stay if they tell him all the circumstances. Adele thinks this will improve the morale of the team, and she doesn't understand why he refuses to participate in the expedition. Zernos asked if Adele had heard that he was tired and planned to leave after they had eaten. The princess noticed that she had made a fuss here, and it must be difficult for him. It was a great lunch. Zernos grabbed Adele's hand. The princess did not understand what he was doing. If only she weren't Leopold. If Leopold's territory would have been in his possession, he would never give her the right to look at him like that. As for the cannon, to raise the morale of the royal army, they will say that it was he who killed him, only because those who protected them decided that something would be better, and he had no choice. The princess didn't understand why he was angry, but she agreed with them. After becoming Leopold, she learned a lot about the enslavement of evil beings from an early age. And even given her poor skills, she was able to defeat the cannon thanks to hard training. Adele thought she could help him, but apparently made a hasty conclusion. But she did not do this out of warm feelings for him. The weakness of the cannon is the middle of his forehead, and their tough skin is also weaker in this area. The prince laughed at her, calling it a tactic. Vision is the weakness of all monsters, so it's easier to just hit them in the eyes. There's no point in hitting him in the eyes. The gunman's eyesight is already bad, and it's much easier to attack head-on. The prince admitted that this sounded true. What Adele did was beyond the prince's power. but if she secretly trains him, he can. The princess is ready to show him how it's done. For Adele's sake, he must join the expedition, and you think that you can get permission from His Majesty. Besides, it will be dangerous there, so Adele must stay away, avoiding involvement or risk. The princess did not understand why she should participate in the expedition. She'll be cheering for him in the castle. An unexpected visit from Zernos and an official call from His Majesty. Everything fell into place. The royal family wants to arrange a wedding between the lady and the second prince. If the lady is happy, then everything is fine. Everyone thinks so. Eldor said that the way he treats her is not normal, and the lady acts like she likes it. Adele said she didn't care. Eldor noticed the cold-blooded look, as if she were an alien. Now, his lady looks like a completely different person. After the death of the Duke, she began to bear our head of the House of Leopold, and this changed her. If Eldor is unable to protect her, he still strives to at least help her, showing care and support in difficult times. Eildor dared to ask the lady if she was going to marry the second prince. The princess turned to the Lord and said that this trash would never become her husband. He's just fuel. In this case, the knight did not understand why she gave him all the credit and also helps in the expedition. It seems that Eldor noticed this too, but His Highness is already thinking about the second prince becoming her fiancé. Regardless of Princess Leopold's opinion, this is what the Emperor wants, and nothing can be done about it. Until they have a compelling excuse. Eldor asked if she was preparing an excuse to cancel the wedding. The lady is going to ruin his plans. For this she needs an expedition, for Count Martin needs to side with the aristocrats or the royal family. So in case something inconvenient for the second prince happens, he will have to hide it. Eldor believed that this was not enough to cancel the wedding. Even if everything goes according to plan, the slightest deviation will not be good for them. Eldor noticed that something was too dangerous. It would be easier if she agreed to marry him. If she already has a fiancé, then His Highness will have no choice. The Lord believed it was safer. He promises that if it is important to her or the Leopold house, that no one can harm her. If everything goes like this, then she can calm down and also join the Royal Academy and can ease the burden of being the head of the family. Adele never found it difficult to be the head of the family. The only thing that is difficult for her is to make sure that this time no one will die. Adele is grateful for his experience, but is forced to refuse him, so as not to lose the chance she got. The princess decided not to make a hasty decision and will carefully consider who will become her husband in order to make the right choice. A servant entered the room and apologized for the late intrusion, but she received a message from Earl Butler, Karl. The Count sent it to her as a gift. He sent a message to make sure she received the gift. The royal castle. The servant noticed that His Highness was in a good mood. The Emperor confirmed this. Seeing your son find his place in the world is truly joyful. The second prince reported that Adele is already in his hands, so he need not worry, because soon His Highness's wishes will be fulfilled. This is because she is an introverted child. Everything is much simpler than it turned out. The Emperor believed that Zernos had done a good job. Even though she's the queen's daughter, she doesn't look like her at all. He thought all that could be expected from him was simplicity and immaturity. The Emperor never thought that Zernos would help him so much. Now nothing bothers him, because the time has come, and he allows Zernos to participate in the expedition. Zernos asked her twice, and therefore hoped that she would go with him. These thoughts. The Count was grateful to the prince for joining the expedition. Zernos said that she was very important, so he was obliged to help him. The task is not so difficult, so the lady need not worry. On this expedition, Lord Eildor is responsible for ensuring that no one is harmed under the command of Zernos. Adele said that she expected victory from them and prayed for the success of His Highness. They started at dawn, riding horses, but they still hadn't arrived yet. Even in such a place, densely dotted with forest, Zernos cannot understand where exactly they are. The prince asked how long they still had to go, and asked if the guide was sure that they were probably on their way. They need about another day to get there, and the expected habitat. The prince angrily said that they had done their research poorly. The man was pleased with the fact that animals do not stand still and always change their location, so it is impossible to find out the exact location. The prince said that if they still have a long way to go, then they need to stop now, but it's too early to stop for a break now. Zernos said that he was here to defeat the cannon, and it's a waste of his time and energy. As a result, yesterday they did not find a single gun. This is a bad place to sleep and eat. Also, this is bad weather and cold. It will be bad if something happens to him. Therefore, Zernos wanted to quickly figure it out and get out. The man informed His Highness that I was starting from here. There should be traps along the way that were set by hunters of evil creatures. The Count thought this was a great opportunity. The prince noted that it was bold of him to say such things. The prince was surprised that these were the words of a knight at the royal court, and he did not want to follow the words of small hunters. Zernos ordered no one to be afraid, to rely on him and fight. The prince is on their side. The man said that the fluff is very sensitive to sound, and if he screams like that, but the prince believed that it would be even better when he himself came to them. He's coming. All they have to do is aim for the middle of their forehead. They should just shoot straight into the center and pierce their skull. The prince did not understand what they were doing, because the cannon was approaching, and everyone should prepare for the shot and not just stand. The men reported that each of them knew the gun's weak point, but none of them had sufficient skills to attack it. But he heard that the prince was able to kill 5. The prince did not understand how it happened that no one could attack them. Zernos did not understand at all how it happened that there was no one here who could attack the cannon. He ordered everyone to shut up and did not understand how they dared joke about him. He ordered to attack them this very minute. The man grabbed the prince and threw him aside. After all, the fluff was running towards him, but Zernos told him to unhook from him. The prince got caught on a branch and fell. The man was almost in tears from hopelessness. Directly behind His Highness was a piece of fluff. He begged for someone to save him. Suddenly, Princess Adele appeared and easily defeated the monster. The lady asked if there were victims. Lord Eildor happily said that no one was hurt. The princess should have known how much fluff appeared. So far, only one. The lady asked how much time had passed since his appearance. This is approximately about 5 minutes. In that case, the lady said it wouldn't take long. They must end this and return to the estate. The Count said that it would be safer to stay in the camp for another day because they exposed themselves to danger. He could not believe that the prince was wounded. I ordered to call the doctor immediately. Zernos has minor injuries. He's just sleeping now. I take into account that the second prince has joined the expedition. They must inform His Majesty and make a detailed report and send it quickly. And yet, a lot of time has passed, but it still stinks of something. The prince simply went under his breath. They should have also informed about this, probably. The prince is so strange, not only because of his lies, but because of his stupid mistakes. This is dishonest and embarrassing on his part. The servant noticed that the Count seemed to like it. Martin asked where Lady Leopold was, believing that she would arrive separately from the group. The butler reported that the lady arrived before everyone else and immediately went to her chambers. The Count was shocked that he was not warned. Considering the anxiety and unrest that the prince brought, she said that she would rest alone in silence. Adele laughed at this performance. The prince is so worthless and useless. For a princess, he is simply insignificant. Filled with fear and pain, her past shackled her, causing the princess to tremble in fear for her life. Even if she forces herself to think that this life will be different, the ghosts of the past will not go away so easily anyway. But now everything is fine with the princess. This simpleton no longer scares Adele. As for the gift that he sent her after playing, Adele liked it. He suddenly sent her a sword. Adele didn't even know whether she should tell the Count how surprised she was. The princess asked Count Martin how he guessed that it was she who killed all the guns. The man smiled and said that he was just guessing, and he's glad he hit the bull's eye. Adele wondered if he gave her the sword in order to test his assumptions. The Count was simply curious. Once upon a time, he heard a story about a teacher whose talent had to be kept secret, the talent of one of the students. He remembers the face of a father who disappointed his daughter. Adele figured he probably knew why her father wanted to hide her skills. But that's not true. The Count only heard his quiet grumbling. There must be a reason that the princess will never recognize her again. The Count noticed that the way her father described her, fundamentally different from reality. Until we talked at dinner, he became more and more convinced of this. For an aristocrat who said she was ready to marry anyone in the kingdom, Adele is reserved and calm. And now, he began to think that all this hype was some kind of trick. Well, that's not entirely true. But she still hoped that she would be able to meet her fiancé. The Count believed that in this case, the announcement was just a distraction. This is actually true. His Highness hopes for a wedding between her and Zernos, and this is not the best outcome for her. The Count agreed with her. After all, wet pants are not very suitable for the role of her groom. It seemed to the man that she really liked his joke, and he was proud of himself. The princess only apologized. Martin asked Adele if she wanted to become the next head of the Leopold family. The princess asked if he thought that this was just empty chatter. A person is defined by his actions, so the Count believes that Adele is competent and strong enough to put her words into action. The princess added that the Count was very perceptive. Martin laughed and said it was just a little trick. Sooner or later she will master it too. The Count asked the princess what she planned to do with the wedding. Adele is still thinking about it. Before she leaves, the Count wants to ask how she views marrying his son. Perhaps he is not so talented, and he does not have any global achievements, but he is very kind and loyal. So he is perfect for the princess. Adele noticed that his proposal was very unexpected. The Count did not think that his son was bad. The princess promised to think about it. The Count was flattered. Now all the knights are most likely bathing in alcohol. They should be glad that this difficult expedition ended without casualties. The Count was grateful that the princess brought these emotions to them. But the princess believed that she should be grateful for this wonderful conversation. The Count asked her to keep the sword for herself because it was a gift. The princess believes that the anxiety has not decreased, but a warm hope or joy has kindled in her heart. It seems that the distance between Adele and her father has decreased a little. Her journey will end, but no matter how harsh it will be, the lady will never give up and will wait for spring. Will wait until the snow melts at the end of winter. Hell has been waiting for this melting for the 4th time. This strange air that is close with it. And today, as always, Adele repeats to herself the same thing. She will wait for this warmth in the end. Eldor noticed that the second principal had surpassed himself because he did not think that His Highness would leave her lady and return alone. It's so hard to go through this. The second principal turned out to be so pathetic. Adele noted that it is very rare to see Lord get angry. Seeing him like this is something new. You can see how he has lost control over his emotions. He was able to make the worst decisions without anyone pushing him to do so. And the distance was grateful, and noted that they were traveling very comfortably. The Count reported that he had heard that His Highness would leave earlier. The journey to the capital is long, and he is worried that Adele will go alone. The princess was grateful, but she trusts her knights to protect her. She only wants to ask him to keep her performance a secret during the expedition. The Count had just taken a short break from writing a report regarding her request. Keeping in mind that everyone has seen the princess's skills, it will be difficult to keep them a secret. The knights should not talk about this, for the sake of the second prince's prestige. This means that the second prince will become an unknown useless soldier, and all laurels will go to the warriors of Duke Leopold and the brave knights of Count Martin. Then the Count must describe in detail all the efforts made by the second prince. If a ruined reputation is a shame for the royal family, then it is a shame for the entire kingdom. Damage to the expedition, escape and wet pants from fear. Now Zernos cannot endure the humiliation that has befallen him from all sides, so he also abandoned her and ran away to the palace. So he doesn't think that the emperor will now nominate him as a suitable candidate for her. Now Adele is wondering who he will offer her this time. Eildor wondered what business the princess had. Of all the remaining princes, the only one who matches the princess's age is the third prince, Young. Besides him, if you don't count the youngest, there are 3 more princes left, so there are 7 in total, including the youngest. The princess thinks that the likelihood that the emperor will offer her another groom is extremely high. The main character thought she would have fun, and Eldor did not understand why the lady was smiling. The emperor was very angry. Zernos led the expedition and earned the title. Zernos received all this, even when his father did not ask him, and that's why he had to win. And in the end, he ran away with wet pants. He was humiliated. left everyone, and returned alone. The emperor was surprised that the second prince really had no brains. The emperor really wanted his second prince to answer him. How dare he ruin his plan? Zernos is truly a useless idiot. The prince wanted to justify himself by saying that it was the princess who manipulated him. His Highness had never hit him before, and now it's all because of Princess Leopold. If you think about it this way, his older brother has also never done anything outstanding. He returned from the expedition only once, and then almost everyone died, and his expedition, in which he participated, at least did not fail. Zernos wanted to justify herself before it was too late. The emperor does not know that it is Hel who loved all monsters, so maybe if he told him that he fought with honor, then everything would be okay. But the emperor ordered to lead him and call John. The maid told the princess that someone had come and said that he was looking for Lady Leopold. The princess was surprised that someone was looking for her. Her date with the prince was cancelled, and Zernos must have been sent away. It is not clear who it is. It was Irina. They haven't seen each other for a very long time. The girl noticed that Adele must be tense and asked how she was. The princess said that everything was fine because she was much better. Even though I sent her a letter to Irina, I was still worried, and I'm glad that I was able to meet her. Even considering that she works in the palace, her family's status is quite modest. It must have been very difficult for her to reach the northern lands during the heavy snowfall. Princess Adele was grateful for her experiences. Adele did not understand whether these ladies had come to meet her or to keep an eye on her. Therefore, the princess invited Irina to take a walk, just the two of them. The girls should be back soon. She had already packed all her things, but then she heard that a lady was coming. But Adele was supposed to be here tomorrow, but the one she wanted to see did not come. The princess said that she fought with Fluff. The rumors haven't spread yet. The emperor will stop them at all costs. She suddenly noticed the second prince mocking Vaughn, possibly causing her to feel outraged or worried about this behavior. The younger prince apologizes in tears and says it was just a mistake. But the princess did not know who Van was. That guy had golden eyes. This child is probably his father, the emperor. But in this case, it is unclear why they mock him so much. Irina told Adele that they had better go before they are noticed there. Adele didn't understand at all who this guy was, that even Irina was running away. This is the shadow of the palace. For the emperor, this boy is just a mistake, forbidden one night named Wang. In that case, this guy is the fourth prince, Vincent Ferdus Atnas. If Adele remembers correctly, he died at age 16. The main character will see him for the first time during all 4 lives, which will likely bring special meaning or significance to the meeting. Irina once again insisted that they needed to leave this place quickly, probably due to danger or the need to avoid unwanted consequences. The second prince was very angry and did not understand how someone like her could use her. Adele didn't understand at all what was wrong with him. Zernos shouted that even if he tore her into pieces, it wouldn't be enough. The princess had already begun to understand that he was talking about her. The prince promised to kill her. Irina did not understand what was happening. Princess Adele called Lord Eldor. The princess wants him to do something. He must keep an eye on the fourth prince. Eldor needs to find out how he lives, who he meets in general, everything about him. It was very important to her that he do this without attracting attention. Irina was surprised because she wondered when the Leopold family became a family of secret knights. It seemed to the girl that the Lord was not resting at all. Everyone fell for it when Adele said that they would go for a walk, just the two of them. He himself did not rest. With the help of Count Martin, Adele reached the capital earlier than expected, and I was able to see a lot of interesting things. Irina worked as an assistant in the palace, and now she is taking a short break due to work in the northern part of the kingdom. Soon, she will again begin to travel between the north and the capital, which is very good for the princess. But with the help of her influence, Adele can stop her in the capital. Then she will be able to help her, and at the same time, stay up to date with all the events in the capital. The lady, of course, is glad to meet a close friend. Despite the fact that she was prudent and weighed the pros and cons, she still loses a lot when she tries to survive. Today's lunch may be cancelled. Soon the emperor will call Lady Leopold to get what he wants. He will begin preparations for the next stage. And now, if Adele begins to fulfill all his requests, as if he were the only one who controls her. But what is even more stunning, on the day when Adele gave birth to a child, were the words that Zernos uttered. Finally he was born. With the help of this child, His Majesty finally recognizes the second prince. If his goal was to find a successor to the royal family, then it is unclear why he killed her in his second and third life. Lord Eildor climbed over the balcony because he didn't want to be seen. If he wants to get in here unnoticed, then the only way to do this may be a balcony that provides access without attracting unnecessary attention. The place where the fourth prince lives is very shabby. This is too much even for normal housing, not like for the residence of a prince. And the Lord also saw how the groom helped the fourth prince heal his wounds. Contrary to rumors, it seems he is not a fool. Then in the stable, he asked to finish with him quickly, because tomorrow they would beat him again anyway. This unbearable day began with lunch next to this man. It seemed to the emperor that the lady had not yet fully recovered from the long journey. The gentleman was already thinking that he should have called her later. Amidst all the royal turmoil, he was able to have lunch with her. Therefore, Adele is very grateful to him for this. The emperor was worried about her because of all the problems she faced. Even for a moment, he wanted to meet the lady. The ruler was so worried, but when he saw her in full health, he was able to breathe a sigh of relief. Princess Adele said she will always remember His Majesty's experiences. After the lady admitted that she went to the garden, the emperor noticed that the garden was getting warmer and warmer every year. Because of this, it was always so green there. While she is in the castle, she should relax and unwind as much as possible. Adele was grateful for his kindness. It seemed to the princess that he would suck up to her until he achieved his goal. What happened to Duke Leopold is truly sad, probably causing regret and sympathy among those around him. But the emperor noticed that he died nobly, and yet the kingdom has lost one of its pillars. He couldn't help, but now he will always blame himself for his incompetence. Her Majesty also mourns, so he asks her not to hold a grudge against them. The royal family will never forget Duke Leopold. For the death of Adele's father, it is not particularly correct to say the word noble. Even though he knew that he was not ready for this, the crown prince still intervened and forced her father to lead the army. And while the prince was hysterical, someone supported him. And it was not Duke Leopold, but the emperor, the one who has the highest position in the entire kingdom. He left everything to chance. If he really regretted, he would not hide the truth behind all these sweet speeches. The person who came to the funeral must be truly sorry, and he, the emperor, should have been such a person. He had to come and pay tribute, at least placing one lily on the grave of Adele's father. But it's not like that. The gentleman asked if everything was okay with the princess. Adele apologized. She was pleased to hear such words. The emperor said that she could stop grieving because the fact that she was here was already a significant help, so everything is fine. Even someone who is grieving needs help and peace to calm down. Adele said that the emperor's words calmed her so much. He agreed with her because comforting words are always incomparable. He suggested that Lady Adele speed up the wedding process. Lady Leopold asked if he was talking about her wedding. The emperor would like her to marry one of the princes and become a member of the royal family. As expected, this means he still wants Adele to become a member of the royal family. He said something of his proposal because considering how her lands are independent and unsociable without the head of the family, Princess Adele is now at risk, and the same with its territories. And it seems to the emperor that the groom cannot be anyone more suitable than a royal person. When His Highness, the second principal, visited the estate, sending the second prince, even then they roughly guessed why he did it. And she was incredibly happy. As the emperor said, the princess really needs someone she can rely on. The emperor was glad that she was able to understand his intention. Adele added that as he already knows, the essence of the Leopold family is courage, so as not to be afraid of the enemy and be proud of your skill with the sword. But seeing how the second principal controls the expedition, as the sword of the entire nation, who has a huge responsibility behind him, Adele is really worried about how he will manage the family. The emperor said that for her, who always lived indoors, this may have been a shock, but monsters are very dangerous, and no one can be calm in front of them. No matter how a person handles the ball, in any case, it is possible to make a mistake on his first at-bat. Everyone grows with experience. Everything is exactly like that. And in the end, the expedition still ended successfully. It is not good to reject a person because of his shortcomings. Adele was disappointed to have offended His Highness due to her poor judgment, and she promised to meet him and apologize. Adele asked if she could choose the prince herself. The emperor did not mind, because only she chooses her husband. The princess hopes that he will give her enough time to think. Princess Leopold decided that while she was in the castle, who wanted to choose a suitable groom for the wedding. Adele was slightly surprised by the atmosphere. The lady did not expect to receive a written oath from the emperor. When the crown prince ascends the throne, his brothers, the other princes, will have to leave the castle and the capital. From the looks of it, the wedding will be the defining moment for their departure from the palace, likely as they begin a new life together outside the royal palace. And now, in the entire kingdom, there is no more suitable candidate for this than the Leopold family. The princes sent flowers for Lady Leopold. Adele ordered them to be placed on the window so that they could be seen from the other side. This is a clear sign that right now, the prince is desperately trying to make her his wife. His associates and advisors had long been pushing him to this decision, seeing her as an ideal candidate. Third Prince Young. If Adele had chosen a groom from among all the princes, she would not have even looked at him. The princess asked if there was a place in the palace where you could ride a horse. She ordered to tell her to the knight, and he himself would take her there. Princess Adele decided to go and meet the number one candidate. It seems they have arrived. Eldor asked the lady if she really wanted to meet him. Adele is in a situation where she needs to choose one of the princes now. They said that pearls grow even in dirt. Eldor said, in an upset voice, that he understood that the lady was going to hide this from him too. The princess remarked that it was very interesting to see how they acted like idiots. Van is not being stupid. After the second prince left, after a while he fell down and looked very helpless. Eldor was very surprised to see how quickly the fourth prince stood up. Van was angry with him. After all, it was his older brother who wet his pants, was a jilted woman, and was taking his anger out on him. The groom said that he needed to be more careful with his words. Van had no idea what he was doing here, or how he knew where he was. Eldor now realized that this groom knew that he was just playing. Van is so tired. I really want to leave here. When the emperor dies, and when the summer prince takes the throne, it will finally happen. The Lord didn't know if it would be too risky. After all, he doesn't watch his words and is really very violent, a real teenager. But Adele said not to worry. He knows very well that she is not so easily offended. The main character is lucky. Van is here. Adele asked him if he could help her a little, because she sprained her ankle. The horse suddenly began to jump wildly, and she fell. The prince did not understand how he could help her. It's too hot here at the moment, so she wants to rest a little, and also, since the horse ran away, she will need another one. And the princess asks him to help her walk. This prince is a very bad actor. He needs to be given a little more time, because he is a royal prince, and this requires special attention and care to prepare him for future duties and responsibilities. And then he wondered why he should help no one move. She is taller than him and still wants him to help her. It's written all over his face. The lady didn't understand how he hadn't been caught yet. The prince told her to sit here and rest. In a secluded corner of the castle, there is a small stable that is of no interest to anyone. Although it is shabby, it is very strong. And it's much more comfortable here than the princess thought. She suits the young prince well. She believed that this was due to the fact that both had the same caretaker. Look what their fourth prince is like, Jack. The princess thought that this white horse would suit her. Van said he was scary. Then the lady asked what his name was, but the young prince refused to answer. Then Adele asked how long he had been working here, to which the guy replied that he didn't remember anything. In this case, the princess decided to ask him about something that he knew about. After all, he wants to be free. Adele noted that it would be nice if the emperor died soon, and she asked if he agreed with her. The prince did not understand at all how she could say something like that, and he called her rude. He asked the lady to leave. She can ride this horse. The princess asked him to stop playing this act. The emperor has 11 sons. Until now, the only one who has survived is the 7th prince, even if one has the strength. The royal palace is a place where one person becomes a candle flame in the wind. If the prince could survive here without any help, he must have turned into a fool who has no chance of gaining the throne. The princess said his full name, showing her attention and respect for him as the 4th prince, showing that she was aware of his status and importance. The guy hesitated. Adele once again repeated that he should stop playing this performance. He does it so obviously that she feels ashamed. The princess noticed that he said that he wanted to get out of here quickly, and when the emperor dies and the crown prince ascends to the throne. He also talked about how the 2nd principal wet his pants, was abandoned by a woman, and was taking out her anger on him. As the prince could already understand, she is the same woman who left this bastard. She was a little late for the show. Lady Adele, head of the House of Leopold, came here to meet His Highness the 4th Prince. She was glad to meet him. The guy didn't understand at all what her motives were. He asked if she thought she won because she found his weakness. The prince believed that she was just playing with him, but the princess denied it. She doesn't consider him her friend. She's here to make a deal with him. If they both try a little, the 4th prince can become free. And Adele likewise will be able to get what she wants. This deal is beneficial to both of them. The guy was in complete shock. This deal was for a wedding. Van was surprised and asked again several times, not believing his ears. Adele, without losing her calm, invited him to marry each other. He thought about her words for a long time. The prince said that she was crazy. Princess Adele noted that it looks like Jack is returning. Van simply asked in horror how she found out about Jack. The lady came to him just to introduce herself, so she had to go. The prince asked her to stop because this horse is really difficult if she treats her carelessly. Adele noticed that he was cute. The princess really enjoyed their first meeting, and soon they will meet again. Jack ran up to the prince and asked who it was. Van didn't know what to answer and stood all red. 4th prince. For someone who hates the emperor and the entire royal palace, he is a very suitable candidate for the role of Adele's groom. Not to mention he is someone the princess can control. The 4th principal is ideal for the role of Lady Leopold's groom. But just dragging him into all this is useless. The prince must voluntarily hold her hand. If Adele wants to be sure that he is on her side, she needs to try hard. When she entered the room, she did not understand at all what it was. His Highness the 3rd Prince came to see her. Adele had not heard anything about the visit. The prince hinted that he apologized for such an unexpected visit and brought all these gifts. He wanted to meet the lady, but he was anxious and impatient because he didn't have much time. He, aware of the restlessness of his heart, begged the princess for forgiveness, believing that his actions or words could offend or upset her. The prince was glad to see Lady Leopold. He introduced himself as Vincent Jan Atanos, 3rd Prince Yang. Both in the past and in the present, they both know practically nothing about each other. Adele noted that she was surprised, but still happy, because she also wanted to meet him. Therefore, I am very grateful for the visit. Jan was also glad to meet Lady Leopold. In the 3rd Royal Garden, these magnificent flowers that she loved to talk about were just now blooming. Their aromas filled the air, creating a magical atmosphere. Their beauty and smell are so alluring that the prince wanted to show them to the lady. While he was walking, he lost himself in thought and suddenly realized that he had already come to her. The prince is even a little embarrassed to justify himself like that. He asked her to forgive him for his ignorance. This prince is much better than the princess expected. While she was listening to him, she became curious if he liked flowers. The gentleman noticed that his mother really loved flowers, and he fell in love with them after her. Come to think of it, Adele has heard something about the beautiful garden of Her Highness the 5th Queen. Now it's clear why his nickname is Gardener Ian. His mother, as a princess from abroad, was very fond of the emperor's affection, and a wonderful woman grew up with a magnificent mind and a gentle character. She was a wonderful woman to society, but Zernos is not so bad for society. After all, Zernos grew up in an excellent society, and so Adele hopes that the rumors about Ian are lies. Although sometimes rumors can be true, Young wondered if this was Lady Leopold's first visit to the capital. Adele was already here when she was little, but she doesn't remember much anymore. He would like to see the sights of the capital with her. The lady didn't understand how, because it was outside the palace. It's quite simple, because he and his servant often escape from the castle. And as Adele already knows, Ian is in good standing, so he can do that. The princess asked what he meant. Yang is very strong, and at the same time, not ambitious. He is competent enough that no one can find fault with him. No matter where he is, he still goes unnoticed. There is no one who would want to harm him. And besides, fortunately, the prince has a very gentle character, which helps him easily get out of difficult situations. Adele didn't know if she should tell her, but she had to say that he was very objective about himself. Ian also thought so, and he believes that this is his forte. If this variable did not exist, Adele would most likely choose him. The prince wanted to tell her that he was extremely curious after hearing that she was in the capital. When he was little, Hertz Leopold periodically came to the castle, and he caught a glimpse of it just a couple of times. His harmonious look, full of dignity, delighted the third party, but he could not talk about it, for he was afraid of his stern gaze, and the only time he smiled was when he talked about his daughter. That's why he was curious to look at her and talk to her. He felt that behind her appearance and words, there was something more, something important and significant. Her every gesture, every word seemed to him a riddle that he wanted to solve. The death of a hero is a true grief. All the inhabitants of the kingdom admired him because he was an example of valor and courage, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of people. Ian really enjoyed their meeting. Adele thought so too. The prince hoped that they could meet again. The princess ordered that all the letters he sent be brought to her, because she has to answer them. In addition, starting tomorrow, she will be meeting the princes one after another, so everyone must prepare carefully. Apart from Jack, this was the first time Van had a normal conversation with someone, and they smiled at him. But other than that, she was terrible, scary, her look and her speech. Even Zernos didn't scare him that much. Jack asked if something was bothering his prince. Wang asked if there was any woman who would want to marry him. Jack said that in 3 years, he will become a very handsome and attractive prince. And then someone special will see the spark in him and invite him to spend the rest of his life together. Van told him to stop because he was going to bed. Jack asked again if everything was okay with him. No matter what Wang thinks, this woman is definitely not the one he needs, but he doesn't understand at all why she wants to marry him. Even in Jack's dreams, he will become beautiful only after 3 years. The fourth prince is sure that she is definitely up to something. Zernos was very angry when he learned that Lady Leopold had met with Ian. Moreover, they were very friendly to each other. The second prince had always disliked this Yang, so it means she likes such people. It seems her standards are a little low. If these two get married, everything will go to waste. But the prince decided that he was someone there for me. He was Zernos, the emperor's most beloved son after the crown prince. The maid came to him with the news that Lady Leopold had invited him to tea, perhaps for the purpose of conversation or discussion of important issues. The second prince was completely bewildered. He didn't understand at all why she invited him, although it's not that important. Further, she informed His Highness that she would like to apologize to him. She was short-sighted and careless, and thereby insulted His Highness. And now Lady Adele apologizes very much for all her actions. The last time she dined with the emperor, she realized everything. Even if she had practiced ball handling, she was not familiar with the horror of battle. There at the front, he must have experienced extreme fear, and that is why it was probably difficult for Zernos to fight. And even under such circumstances, he very bravely led the ranks of the army. Adele sincerely wishes to reconcile, feeling regret for her actions, and asks for forgiveness, hoping for his understanding and mercy. As she already said, in that battle, Zernos was a true knight, so given his knighthood, he can omit this error. But she was probably very amazed by the fluff. As expected, the second prince is very supportive and truly magnificent. His Majesty told the princess to choose one of the princes to become her groom. The truth is that in recent days, the model has been thinking a lot about Zernos because he is the only one who came to Leopold territory. Even in such unpleasant weather, And in addition to this, he calmed her down and encouraged her with his words and gifts of flowers. But she was a little worried. Then Adele was still grieving. Despite the weather, her feelings were riveted to him. The prince noticed that even if she didn't do this, such things would still be felt. Zernos did this because he knew how Adele felt. That is why he agreed to join this terrible expedition. Even though he was confused by her attitude, he simply let go of all his feelings. He told her to be sure to think about her feelings. And besides, he believes the emperor. His father's parting words must be meant for both of them. He can't go against him. Therefore, he would like to convey the good news to him as early as possible. So it would be nice if they choose a day for their wedding. In order not to disappoint him anymore, Adele must make an effort. The princess agreed. Lady Adele was informed that His Highness the Sixth Prince had arrived. The lady invited him to end their meeting. As he already understood, the princess must meet the sixth prince. The sixth prince is only 12 years old. His Majesty told her to talk to each prince, and Adele, of course, agreed with him, because no one can know a person just by the words of others. The younger prince greeted his brother Zernos. The second prince noted that they had not seen him for a long time. Her Highness the third queen is also here. The younger prince would not mind talking to his brother, but he has a meeting with Lady Leopold. The lady hoped to meet Prince Grain again, sensing unresolved issues between them and wanting to continue communication. A guy and a girl took his tools from a man, and they said that even if they change, it will be on his conscience, and if he doesn't want it, he should take it. The guy was supposed to meet Lady Leopold. These young people are so irritated by everything. They decided to return. The girl asked the guy if he would freeze to death if he married Lady Leopold. It's really cold there. Besides, he will have to fight monsters. Eldor watched it all. By order of the lady, the only one he must keep an eye on. This servant suffers from constant attacks from the younger members of the royal family. The Lord would be surprised if they did this to him because of the fourth prince. Wang called the horses his ladies and prepared a custom-made blanket for his lady, who is still a foal. He heard a very loud return. The prince must return and go to bed. Lady Leopold came to see him. He, frightened, threw a bucket at her. The fourth prince did not understand at all what she had forgotten here so late at night. The lady came to talk, but he is terrible at greeting guests. It's cold today, so she asks if he has something warm. But he didn't even invite her. Even bad manners must have its limits, so she should say what she wants and leave. After all, if Jack sees her, he will be very surprised. Van didn't understand what was wrong with her. The prince did his best to give her a drink, but she doesn't even drink. He already believed that she could not be from the circle due to the fact that she grew up spoiled. Adele asked if the reason there was only one mug was because he didn't have any anymore, but the prince said that it was simply too late now. Van decided that he needed to be more relaxed about what she was saying. Adele said that she would try his drink, and she was very grateful to him. The guy once again asked why she came. Last time Adele noticed that he was good with horses. Van decided that she was simply ignoring him. The prince said that he simply grew up with them. Horses are his friends. Each has its own character. Adele noticed that they help him in difficult times. She thought he handled them very well, and the princess added that she also grew up with horses. Adele's father taught her how to handle them. Van didn't understand what it was at all. The princess decided to ask Van again why he wanted to leave the palace. The guy said there was no point in him staying here. Absolutely everyone wishes he didn't exist. That's why he wants to leave and not look like an idiot. Wants to feel freedom for once. The princess noticed that his plans were not so grandiose, and it doesn't look like he has any plans after leaving. Vaughn assured her that she had simply never worried about anything like that. Adele asked where he got it from. Adele said that His Highness is completely suitable for her, which is somewhat unexpected. Van couldn't believe that and believed that she had some kind of fetish. The princess suggested not to get ahead of yourself. She noticed that he was a prince without power, looking like a fool. He might be tired of it, but for her, he's perfect. Moreover, no one can give him freedom except Princess Adele. And by the way, her type is a strong man you can rely on. Wang said he is still growing. Adele had hope that in the future he would become taller. The terms of their deal are very simple. The model gives him freedom, and he marries her. She offers the prince freedom so easily. and in return, he will use it. But at the same time, he will use her. Van didn't know at all whether he could trust her. As expected, he is too cautious, so it won't be easy. But Adele will throw a stone on this calm surface of water. She called Lord Eildor and said it was time for them to leave. Someone strong and reliable. Adel said the prince doesn't know when he will need help. Besides, there is almost no one here with the powers that can help him. So the prince should think carefully about her proposal. Adele hopes he makes the right choice. It's rainy season now. There are always accidents happening in this weather. She asked the Lord if he was closely watching the servant Jack, and she asked him to continue to monitor him. Eildor wondered if his lady really wanted to marry the fourth prince. This is the whole point of her plan. Adele asked if he was against it. Eldor said that he would follow her no matter what decision she made. The princess made checkmate. Ian noted that it was a crushing victory. But despite this, the prince still smiles. Ian is enjoying the game despite the result. And besides, it's quite funny to watch her. The princess asked what kind of person she was. Instead of helping someone secretly, she tries to help people openly. Adele decided to take this as a compliment, but she believes that this is the best deal for him. This is true. Even considering his words, the princess will not be soft towards him. But Ian meant it. And relationships should not be forced. Adele thought about it. The main character's plan most likely fits the definition of forced. Although the princess doesn't think he meant it, she was still a little upset. The emperor asked which prince Lady Leopold met with, and the maids reported that she met with all of them. But she met with the second and third principals more often. In most meetings with Prince Yang, they were inside the castle, and in meetings with Prince Zernos, they usually went out somewhere. Although Yang looks obedient, inside he is stubborn and unshakable. The emperor would not be able to entrust him with such an important task. On the other hand, Zernos, he performs the assigned tasks so well for me, but at least he is obedient and easy to control. You need to successfully obtain an heir from Lady Leopold. If we look to the future, Zernos is more suitable for this role. The emperor thinks he's being lenient with the princess, so he has the right to steal her time. He ordered an invitation to be sent to her. Adele, of course, expected this outcome, but even for her, it turned out to be too obvious. She realized that her premonitions had not deceived her. The emperor planned today to express his gratitude to them for their contribution to the expedition. He apologized for the delay because he was busy with government affairs and business. The princess said that she did not deserve such praise. The second principal controlled the expedition, and the canon won. It was all his merit. Adele only regrets that she did not witness the power and courage of His Highness. The grain worked hard. The emperor is glad that she understands the difficulties of knighthood. Zernos added that he thought it was still cool in the ladies' lands. Lady Leopold herself confirmed this, but this is the time when wild flowers begin to bloom. Despite the cold, she would like to show them blooming. The emperor asked if she was inviting Zernos to her lands, but the princess said that not yet. The emperor noticed that it looked like she had made a decision to some extent. Adele is grateful for your attention. Thanks to this, she was able to spend a lot of time with the princes and decide. The emperor was so happy to hear these words from her. It's okay. He hopes she makes the right choice. The emperor is trying to manipulate the princess. The model has been in the castle for more than a month, so it will be difficult to gain more time. And yet, there is no news of the fourth prince. Because of the rain, nature changes so much. Dried flowers come to life. Rivers and lakes are filled with water. But part of these changes is an increase in accidents. In Adele's past life, at this time, the fourth principal drowned in the lake. She heard rumors about this in the north, but ignored them. The mentally ill fourth prince suddenly attacked the fifth prince in a fit of rage. And when the knights protecting the fifth prince drove away the fourth prince, he drowned in the lake. But the fourth prince she met did not look like a fool. Yes, he acted like a fool, but it was just an act. There had to be some reason to attack the fifth prince, and Adele guesses what this reason is. Suddenly, the Lord ran up to her. She didn't understand what was going on and asked how the surveillance was happening. A person who has no one to rely on in difficult times. Adele decided to lend a helping hand. The guy didn't understand at all why Jack was late. Of course, it's usually like an alarm clock. The prince decided that he needed to be found. But Van doesn't even have an umbrella. It's so inconvenient. It also rained heavily that day. Everyone was shocked when they saw the fourth prince. But they were ordered to leave him because they were told he was weird. After his servant died, he felt very bad. Some felt sorry for him, even though that servant had no support. Everyone will be surprised if he survives, considering that he is now alone. Before his mother died, she told him a way to survive. If he wants to live, to survive, then he needs to become strange. This was the first time he met Jack. The horse asked if the prince was hungry. Almost a full bowl of soup. At that point in his short life, it was the most delicious food he had ever eaten. The only person who helped him feel warm was Jack. The prince decided that he would have to ask him to make the potato soup again, but it is not clear where he is. Yesterday at this time, he was here trimming bushes. The prince saw Jack lying on the ground. Van asked him what had happened to him and tried to wake him up. When he saw a broken stepladder next to him, he realized that this was again a joke from those twins. Jack is cold. The injury on his head is quite serious. First, the prince must take him away from here. Well, it turned out to be not so simple. The prince didn't succeed, so he started calling someone for help. Van is alone. There's no one here again. He alone is powerless. Lord Eildor ran up to me. He asked if the prince could show where the groom lived, because he could call the doctor. Princess Adele came to them and asked the doctor what was wrong with the patient. He lay in the rain for a long time, causing his temperature to drop. So his condition is deplorable, but there is no need to worry. He broke his left leg, and the rest of the wounds were just minor scratches. There is no need to worry. His head injury is not as deep as it seems. He has a very strong body, so he will just have to eat well, and he will be fine. Adele asked the doctor if he promised that everything would be okay with the groom. The doctor will be coy about today's incident. The princess informed Lord Eildor that she was fine, so he should see the doctor. The lady thought the prince must be shocked. He was also in the rain for a long time. The prince needs to be seen by a doctor. Adele asked him if he felt weak, but Vaughn believed that what was more important now was how her knight found out that Jack was there and that he was injured. Adele said that it was all due to the fact that all the time he was watching him and Jack. The princess did this just to get to know her business partner, so he doesn't have to worry, because it really helped. The prince said that she had to blackmail him, say that he will save Jack in exchange for their wedding. The lady said it wouldn't be very fair of her. A deal based on blackmail is wrong. She believed that the prince felt helpless, endless and heavy rain, alone in a huge garden, without strength, without a person you can rely on, with a feeling of helplessness. This is his current state. A pitiful, powerless state when he cannot protect one person dear to him. Van didn't understand why she said that, but Adele has strength. If he marries the strong Adele, he can also gain these powers. Since he is not feeling well, the princess will already be leaving, and he can rest. I'll see you next time. Van doesn't want to trust this woman, because for him, everyone who has powers is an enemy. The prince is scared. He believed that this woman was the same as the others. The day she is dissatisfied, the prince will be crushed like a fly. But what really scares him is being powerless. Basically, I ran after Adele. If you can't do anything, you can't do anything at all. This is the usual scared fourth prince. The guy shouted that he agreed to the wedding because he wanted her to protect him. Van wants to be strong to protect. The princess agreed to do this. The prince asked what she was up to. Adele asked if she could ask him a question before continuing. The lady was interested in what kind of dialogue he prefers, business or ordinary. This was unexpected, and the prince did not understand why she was asking such a thing so suddenly. As he already knows, she is Leopold's only heir. Even His Majesty does not speak to her casually. Adele asked, because she didn't expect their relationship to turn out like this, but she wants to set boundaries. Adele wondered whether he would be polite to her, or whether she should be ordinary in her interactions with him. The prince said that he would be polite and apologized. He knew that she was a terrible woman. The lady hoped that they would find a common language. Despite the prince's pretense, it had been a long time since he had been polite to anyone. Perhaps it's because he was never raised correctly. He was raised only by Jack, and he would never criticize the prince. If Adele can teach him, then maybe he can do something. The princess decided to return to their main issue. When the emperor approves the wedding, they will both go to the land of Leopold. Van didn't understand at all how she would get his permission, because he was still a child. The lady told him not to worry about it, because the princess will only marry him when he grows up a little. At first they will just get engaged, so there's nothing to worry about. The prince did not realize how this would affect his beloved. Adele claimed it would change their lives. Van jumped up and asked if she had any enemies. If there is a chance to die, then he cannot. The princess said he didn't have to worry about it, and he can be sure that even if there is any danger, it will appear only after he receives the promised freedom. Van once again asked who her enemy was and who could threaten her life. The lady said it was none of his business. The prince thought that perhaps he should refuse her. It sounded very rude. But to do anything, she needs Van. The guy is in complete shock because he didn't understand anything. After the wedding, the emperor will ask him to keep an eye on her, and he must agree with him. And then it means watching him and reporting everything to her. The guy already understood that she was going to make a coup, but the lady said it wasn't so. She was sure that the prince would handle this perfectly well. And besides, he has been doing this for the last 16 years. The prince justified himself by saying that he had been forced to do this. Adele noted that he didn't even have a goal, but now he does. He has a man to protect. The princess believes in him. That's why she asks him for this. Not long ago, the prince thought about something. Adele really knows how to choose words. The princess decided to take this as a compliment. Lord Eildor noticed that his lady seemed to be in a good mood. The princess was surprised and asked if she could see it. In general, Lord is right. The fourth life of a princess. She was simultaneously trying to make the same choices as in past lives, and at the same time avoiding them. Although death was inevitable, a new stage now begins. Life goes on, opening up new opportunities and prospects. Despite the plans and intentions of others, Adele's future depends only on herself. She realized that many challenges awaited her ahead, and the decisions she made would determine her fate. The princess already really wants to see the emperor's face, wrinkled with anger. Of course, Adele will not stop vigilant. Until he and the fourth prince go to the lands of Leopold, events will develop according to their own scenario. The emperor asked if this letter was really for Lady Leopold. He said that they want to honor the memory of Duke Leopold, so he ordered the palace to be prepared in the next few days, because many nobles would gather. They say that today is a memorial ceremony, but as the lady thought, today Princess Leopold chooses a groom. Because of this, there are so many people in the palace today. Everyone was very interested in who she was talking about. Lately, she has often been with Zernos, but many have heard about the performance of the second principal during the expedition in Martin County. These rumors were true. Rumor has it that his screams could be heard even in the hall. In this case, Prince Yang has a chance. And if she has a very specific taste, the seventh prince might also be suitable. People are confident that no one will refuse. The kingdom's sword and its vast northern lands are a symbol of power and wealth, commanding attention with its majestic history and resources. This means that among other benefits, the charming Lady Leopold also joins the group, adding even more attraction or interest. The princess hears everyone gossiping, and they think they already know who Lady Leopold will choose. Zernos wanted everyone to look closely at him, because he would be the one the lady would choose. When the guests noticed the fourth prince, they did not understand at all what this eccentric had forgotten here. Zernos was terrified and had no idea how he even dared to appear here. His Majesty, the King and Her Majesty the Queen have arrived. Zernos decided for himself that when it's all over, he will beat Van. Lady Adele appeared before the emperor. The gentleman asked if she had thought about his proposal. Choose one of the princes to be your groom. The princess is sincerely grateful to him for this offer. Adele is grateful to him that she can find a partner for life and get married. Lady Adele has finally made her choice, so now the emperor is calm. He hopes that the principal will be understood by the lady's choice. The gentleman agreed with him. After all, now, the residents of Leopold are choosing a groom. They will all accept her decision here, but only the crown prince said that. Fabulous. Finally, someone will take over for Duke Leopold. This wedding will definitely be the event of the year. And now the queen wants Lady Leopold to tell them which principals she chooses. The second prince or the third. The children talked among themselves in intrigue, waiting for Lady Leopold's answer. Adele said that the one with whom she wants to marry is not Prince Zernos and not Prince Yang. The emperor did not understand what she was talking about. After all, she literally agreed to the wedding just a few minutes ago. The ruler, in horror, asked if she had decided to make jokes, but the lady said that this was not a joke, and she spoke from the bottom of her heart. After all, he promised her that she would have the right to choose. Her groom will be the fourth prince. The emperor asked in horror how she even dared laugh at him. The queen noticed that she did not seem to know that the fourth prince was not great. Adele apologized because in her eyes, His Highness the fourth principal is more innocent and kind than the others. It was for these qualities that she fell in love with him. Her innocent smile and this calm and quiet voice calms the prince. When Adele was riding a horse, she injured her leg, and it was the fourth principal that helped her. He helped and then picked a safer horse for her. And the emperor said that there is no need to cultivate the past. But the lady did not stop and said that when she came to him to thank him for his care, he brought her a mug of warm milk. His innocence and kindness in his heart, the lady simply cannot forget them even if she wants to. Princess Adele believes this is true love. Now the emperor understood that she was serious. The lady once again said that she wants to marry His Highness the fourth prince, Vincent Ferdus Atnas, so she asks for his permission. The emperor agreed, and the lady knelt before him, thanking him. The servants informed the fourth principal that Lady Leopold had invited him to dinner. He asked where he needed to go. But before dinner, Lady Leopold arranged for him the best bathroom. It was such a warm year. Lady Leopold also sent him these clothes. The prince was simply shocked by the amount of clothing. Adele asked the prince if it was time to come to his senses. Basically, I asked if he could really stay here until the engagement. The lady noticed that His Majesty had already approved this. The food is getting cold, so he must eat quickly. It's time to talk about something important. Soon, the emperor will try to get rid of him for the sake of his true plan, so the prince must stay with her. Van asked if he would really get rid of him. Adele told him that he could be killed, set it up as an accident, drowned, or poisoned. There are many paths, so he must protect himself. The prince shouted that this was completely different from what she was talking about. The crown prince asked the emperor if he would really allow their wedding. The emperor realized that he had committed himself to his promise and had no right to deviate from it, despite possible obstacles. The crown prince believed that there was always a way to kill the fourth prince. You can disguise this as a plausible accident. And after that, asked Lady Leopold to choose another prince. The emperor noticed that she knew very well that he could arrange something like this. She may act innocent, but she is quite smart for her age. This is obvious. I remember how she asked Van Pun to join. When the emperor approved the wedding, the princess will do anything to protect him. And besides, a prince is still a prince. In a situation where he attracts attention by becoming the duchess's fiancé, his death will have a negative impact on the royal family. The crown prince wanted to say something else, but the emperor said that now we just have to wait and see. It may turn out to be even more useful than Zernos. Wang asked the lady if he needed to meet with the emperor. Adele asked if he had ever met with His Majesty alone. This has never happened before. The emperor is now trying to understand whether the fourth principle is useful and how valuable it is. Van didn't know at all what he should do. The lady thought it must be difficult for him. The princess, hearing footsteps and noise in the corridor, turned around and saw the second prince burst into the room. He looked excited and determined, his eyes sparkling with worry. The second prince burst into the room. His appearance was so sudden that the maids did not have time to hide their amazement. He was like a hurricane, destroying the calm and order of this day. Zernos asked what was wrong, but they told him that the princess was busy right now, and so he wondered what she was teaching this fool. He saw them discussing something with great passion, and now he wanted to understand what could attract her attention to such a person. Eildor approached him and informed His Highness that Lady Leopold was now a guest. Zernos ordered him to get out of sight, and he didn't understand how this knight even dared to interfere with him. People Adele believed that His Highness, the second prince, had urgent business to attend to, and asked why he had come. Zernos did not know that she had such preferences, and he thought that the lady should have told him about it right away. Lady Leopold had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. Zernos shouted that he was talking about this wretched child. Adele noticed that His Highness the second prince's words were too rude to his blood brother. Zernos screamed why she was being nice to him all this time and acted like she chose him. The princess said that she met with all the princes without prejudice and never said that she chose the second one. Besides, His Majesty has already approved the wedding. The lady asked if he was ready to stand up to his father, despite his will. Zerins always did not like this arrogant look from Adele. The second prince didn't understand how this girl dared to treat him like that. Zernos believed that she could not even dare to look at her like that. Van was pleased. And now even this rabble. Zernos doesn't understand why they treat him like an idiot, and he swung at the fourth prince. Until the princess returns to the lands of Leopold, she does not want to see the face of Zernos. She instructed Jane to see His Highness off as he left the place. And she told Eldor that the fourth prince seemed amazed, so he should show him his room. You can tell by his eyes that he was worried. Nothing could be done about it. Continues to act like a fool, even when people are looking at him. The lady is confident in her abilities and believes that she is able to cope on her own, so she prefers that others just work. And yet, if he had hit the fourth prince, he would not have gotten away with just a swollen cheek. The prince couldn't even ask her if she was okay, but she was hit in her house. Prince Wang, worried, asked Eldor if he sincerely hated him. A little earlier, his dear mistress had been hit because of this ignorant child who couldn't do anything. Eldor said that he simply follows the will of his lady, and he is not able to comment whether he likes His Highness or not. Even so, he just hopes that her mistress will make the right choice. It seems pointless, though. He strictly obeys the will of his mistress. The prince promised to give it his all. Adele can also get something from him, but in any case, it is true that only she can give him freedom, and she wants to protect those who protect her and sacrifice for her. Jack will arrive soon. Eldor told the prince to rest. Emotions in the gaze of the fourth prince addressed to his mistress. He knows what these emotions are. Mrs. Adele has people around her who respect her. Her warm and affectionate temperament attracts others and naturally causes them to show certain emotions. After the death of the previous duke, Madame Adele changed to such an extent that sometimes she seemed completely alien to her, and yet she sacrifices for him. Gentleman Adele sacrifices herself, and her knight can only watch her actions. Eldor is deeply convinced that he is only a burden to those around him, devoid of meaning and unworthy of attention. A week later, Adele expected it to be full of rare books. After all, this is a royal palace. The emperor said that he wanted to have their wedding here, so he asked to stay. The ruler said that they would get married in 10 days and asked if she could wait. Still, the fourth prince needs to learn everything. If so, then Adele wants to use the royal library. She wants to look there if she gets bored. The emperor agreed for him to use it. There are a lot of books there, so she can read whatever she wants. He is ready to accept any conditions, just to get rid of her presence, which interferes with his plans to train the fourth prince. This is a folklore book, incredibly old. She thought it was very strange for such an old man to be here. As expected, there are also stories about Leopold. One cool winter night, the fiery red dragon Leopold fell in love with a human knight. He became Duke Leopold. After that, in their territories, dragon blood and fiery red hair were passed down from generation to generation. However, the first duke, blinded by greed, cut out the red dragon's heart. The huge amount of mana stored in the dragon heart is still associated with the Leopold family's territory. Everything is completely different. The dragon lover also cut out the heart. This is the first time Adele has read about this. In the usual story, a long time ago, a knight with the gift of gab got lost in the forest and met a fiery red dragon. The duke surprised the dragon with his eloquence, and the dragon recognized him as her only friend. He received the dragon's blessing. After a while, the dragon, which had very little left, fell into eternal sleep, and the night became Duke Leopold, and the earth, on which the dragon fell asleep, became the land of Leopold. No mention of fury. It looks like this story was written by someone. Who does not know the internal state of the Leopold family? Fura is created by condensing dragon mana, and only a few people know this. Still, the story about the heart is quite suspicious, considering the emperor's obsession with the union of the royal family and the Leopold family. As if this were not enough, this legend also appeared. The crown prince was delighted to see Lady Adele here. The crown prince noticed that she was looking at the history and legends of the Leopold family. Despite the fact that there are so many books, the Duchess thinks about her dukedom. On the eve of the engagement, she is increasingly visited by thoughts about the empire and her family. Without even realizing it, I found this book and started reading. It's been over a month since she's been in the palace, and she's probably homesick. The lady is looking forward to the end of the ceremony. Crown Prince, the only person with whom the dubious emperor was close and trusted, and also the one who killed Lady Leopold's father, just by his presence. He said he was touched. The innocence of the Duchess, with which she publicly expressed her feelings. This became an example for many. Adele said that it was all thanks to Mercy and His Majesty. The engagement of Fergus to the Duchess is an event for the imperial family. The lady is delighted. He is the ideal prince, the personification of dignity and care. His words filled her heart with recognition and respect, emphasizing her specialness and beauty. Next time they should meet the Duchess at the ceremony. In Adele's past life, they almost never crossed paths. Therefore, the girl was very interested in what he was trying to achieve with this. The man told the fourth prince that he was here only because of His Highness. This man repeated once again that he could not even imagine how to do it. The prince must remember this well in order to repay this kindness. Van himself understood that he should be grateful to His Majesty. It was very interesting how much time had passed. The prince constantly repeated that he was grateful to His Highness. He felt tired, hungry, thirsty, and really wanted to sleep. The man doused the prince with water because he fell asleep during such an important lesson. He was very disappointed, and he asked the prince in the same way how he would repay His Majesty's kindness. He's here again, that knight who is on the orders of Duchess Leopold, but he was kicked out of here because he had to come here because the prince was being trained here. Everything started all over again. Van had already forgotten about it in the moment of calm. This is his place. Prince Wang may be real, but his power is limited. He needs help because he cannot cope with difficulties alone. And she knew it from the very beginning. But he's okay because he shouldn't seek pity by pretending to be rude. The prince needs help. The man again asked by whose grace His Highness the Prince simply ate, slept, and did not worry about anything. The guy again repeated that this was all only thanks to His Majesty, all thanks to the Emperor, and thanked him endlessly. Mr. Gareth was informed that the king was expecting a fourth prince. His Majesty is very busy, and the prince should be grateful for this precious time. He's just a child who can't hide her excitement due to a rather dubious position. If he remains silent, he will look passable because he is not good enough. This means that Lady Leopold's intention is to marry a puppet, thanks to which she will gain real power. These are not just rumors. Vaughn knew that he shouldn't look too smart or too ignorant, and he can do it. He entered the room with the emperors and knelt down. Speaking of which, he is happy to meet him. The emperor ordered him to raise his head. He will soon leave them, so he asks how his health is. Wang said that thanks to His Majesty's attention, everything was fine. The emperor noticed that he was surprised at his lack of attention and asked if he was offended. Wang said that he could not dare. After all, everything is thanks to him, His Majesty the Emperor. He thought he was a clueless idiot, but he wasn't. The emperor ordered him to tell about the geographical features and specialization of Leopold. The prince said that it was cold there and mentioned Pure's specialization, which was the study of a genus of male planktonic algae. The emperor asked what actions the princes would take if Leopold's lands were appropriated by their vassal. The prince did not know what to answer. He remembered everything why he was taught, but he had neither pride nor self-esteem. If Leopold wants to use this child, then the emperor will do so too. This medicine was given by the emperor. The lady asked the Lord if he knew what it was. He confirmed this. This drug increases the concentration of energy in the body. It is taken by children and weak men. Adele wondered what weak men meant. The Lord, grinning, noted that it seemed that there was nothing related to pregnancy in his plans, hinting at her question. But this man's erectile dysfunction prevents them from realizing them. The prince was very ashamed. Adele asked His Highness what he heard. He was told to report any activity by Adele Leopold. And also, he must think about procreation as the most important task. The lady thought he was strange, because he called only to say this. So, it is true that the emperor is obsessed with mixing her and royal blood. But why they didn't just kill Lord Eildor when she married him in past lives is completely unclear. The prince decided to add that since they were in the same boat, he would not be able to do this. Adele agreed with a smile, because she was also not interested in this kind of thing with him. But the medicine shouldn't do him any harm, so he can take it and grow faster. The prince seemed to be treated like a child. The lady said that he was fed well and put to bed on time in a soft bed. Therefore, she did not understand at all why his complexion was becoming dull. Adele believed that something was bothering him and tried to find the reason for his anxiety. But everything remained a mystery to her. Princip remembered everything that was done to him, but still said that nothing bothered him. In this case, the lady asked what he was taught in class. She heard that even Jack was not allowed to see him. Therefore, she believes that teachers are acting recklessly. The guy said that these are just etiquette lessons, where they teach you to praise the greatness of the emperor and nothing unusual. Prince Yang's servant came to the lady. He sent her a letter because it was flowering time, and he offered to take a walk with him. Ian was very grateful for her time. Podar was grateful for the invitation to such a wonderful garden. Time flies so quickly, so Ian wonders how the preparations for the engagement are going. The lady noticed that my friends from the capital helped me a lot. The prince wondered if she was going to go home immediately after the ceremony. The lady thought that everything would be exactly like this because she had been here too long and missed home. The lady decided to ask why, in this case, he invited her. This surprised Prince Yang quite a bit. Zernos's rudeness, so he wanted to ask this question carefully, but he found it difficult to contain his curiosity. Yang asked why he was not her chosen one. He asked what she needed that he couldn't do. The princess did not understand what he meant. As she said then, she decided on this engagement only because she fell in love with the fourth prince. Yang believed that he had failed to open up to her completely, but his words were completely sincere. Therefore, deep down, he hoped that his feelings were mutual. But it was not so, which makes him very sad. Princess Leopold did not understand at all what he was driving at. Uncle decided to ask if he liked her. Ian thought she could be quite callous sometimes. Adele was really sorry. However, as someone who can't imagine her life without the princess, Ian would like to hear the answer. Is he not good enough for her? Adele apologized and noted that he was truly a wonderful person. The prince noticed that this was a very banal refusal, but Adele was telling the truth. Yang loves his family and country more than anything in the world, and there should be a more worthy girl next to His Highness. In the end, Adele's refusal will only bring him happiness. Ian didn't quite understand what that meant. Adele said that next time she would invite him to her place, and she wondered if he would come as a friend. The prince said that he would wait patiently for her invitation, hoping that she would find time to invite him. He expressed his readiness to arrive at any moment when she wished to see him. The Duchess greeted the man. He introduced himself. His name is Gareth, and he is in charge of teaching His Highness. Adele was glad to see him, but informed him that His Highness would not be able to attend classes today, so he could go. The man apologized and said that he could not make such a decision on his own, since he was training according to the order of the emperor. The lady thinks it's not a problem. The prince has been busy for days since they announced their engagement, and he hasn't even had a chance to choose a suit. She doesn't think that the announcement of the alliance of the imperial family of the leopard family will please His Majesty's appearance in the mat. The princess asked if he would go and tell His Majesty about it, that he was canceling classes for today. If necessary, they will remain in the palace for one more day to attend the last lesson. The prince asked the lady how she was. Adele noticed that it was dark here, and I asked him if he ever ran away from class. They went into the wardrobe. The prince was so delighted, despite the fact that it was just a wardrobe. This is the first time he leaves the palace, and on a carriage it is especially exciting. The princess told him that he could take his time and howl at their disposal all day. But the prince did not understand why. They were greeted by a lady who didn't expect them to come in person. She believed this was her first date with the prince. Adele said that they came to try on clothes. The tailor believed that they probably wanted everything to be perfect, despite the fact that they sent the sizes. Van was shocked that he had to go alone to the fitting. After all, he doesn't know what to do. But one principal was very awkward. Adele noticed that this outfit suited the gentleman very well. The tailor noticed that it also suited the Duchess very well. The Lord and Prince were in complete shock when they saw the lady. She had a red dress. The tailor asked if she wanted to pick up the hair for the ceremony, but the princess wanted to leave everything as it was. Adele asked what they thought. Lord Eildor admitted that she looked simply beautiful, and the prince noted that she was very gorgeous. Adele is not very comfortable in these clothes, but her fiancé is younger than her, and she wanted it to look natural. These awkward conversations, awkward walks, however, it's really fun. Terrifying energy. Neither Eldor nor Adele looked tired at all. The princess handed the cotton candy to the prince and told him to try it. The guy was grateful. The fourth prince is indeed very weak. The Duchess noticed this. When he ate cotton candy, he was very happy. Upon returning to the duchy, you will need to train hard. The lady offered the principal lunch. She figured he must be uncomfortable because he is used to meager food. But now his face has brightened remarkably. There may be problems with training the fourth prince, but it's better not to ask him anything now because the lady doesn't want to disturb him unnecessarily. Instead, as Adele promised, she will let him enjoy his freedom. The lady asked if he had fun today. The prince was very happy and confirmed this. In that case, from now on, it will be their time. Everyone joyfully greeted the prince and Duchess Adele. The emperor and queen were also happy to see them. The newlyweds started dancing. The prince apologized, but the lady said everything was fine. After all, he dances better than she expected. If he falls, he will try to catch him further away and move to the final position. The guy thought that this was too much, but still, everything is fine. The prince noted that, as they thought, everyone around was looking at them. The lady assured him that he would not cope with this. Everything is going much better than anyone could have imagined, and this is really true. The princess seemed to be okay. The guests discussed the new couple very heatedly. Yang congratulated the fourth prince on his engagement. And I noticed that this dress suits the lady very well. And then she was grateful to His Highness and added that he also looked good. It was a great honor for him. Ian said he missed her, and now she's coming back. The fourth prince was shocked that Yang was pretending that he was not there. Moreover, Van didn't even notice that he and the princess had become so close. Suddenly someone approached the prince. He was shocked that someone spoke to him. It was Irina, Adele's friend. She congratulated the fourth prince on his engagement, and she asked if he would mind her talking to him while Adele was busy. The prince assumed that it was Given that sent her to him, if he learned anything during this time. So this is that this woman does only what she wants. She is very skillful and acts unnoticed, and the prince still doesn't understand what she's up to and why she's doing it. Irina once again turned to His Highness. She asked if he was uncomfortable, but when she heard his answer, she was very happy because she already thought that she was bored with him. She tried to ask him something. Suddenly Adele came up and asked if he had a good time with Irina. The prince said that was not bad. The princess was pleased to hear this. The crown prince approached them and noted that he had finally seen the main heroes of this celebration. He congratulated them on their engagement. The model was very grateful to him, and the prince said that he had a small gift. This is an expensive drink from abroad. On the fourth principle, he brought juice from the same lands. Adele noticed that it has a very beautiful color. She was very grateful for the precious gift to His Highness. The servant asked if the fourth prince was feeling well. He said that he would take him to a place where he could rest. Adele noticed that His Highness had left. She decided to ask where the fourth prince was now. The servant said that it was difficult for the prince to be in crowded places, and he took him to a quiet place. The princess asked that this place be shown to her. The servant took her away and said that she could also rest. The emperor hasn't changed at all the same dirty tricks. This room again. Everything is exactly as Adele said. Nausea, dizziness, and chills. It seems as if insects are crawling over the body. A dark room. He was locked in this dark room. Adele entered the room. She noticed that the fourth prince had not left the window open. He wouldn't forget about it, so she believes he passed out. When she approached him, she heard him screaming that he was wrong, and he was very sorry. He apologized profusely. Lady Adele came up and hugged him. She assured him that everything was fine. The lady was grateful to Lord Eildor for coming with the antidote on time. Eildor noticed that she drank poison, which is often used for torture and murder. Its impact is difficult to withstand even for adults, and the fourth prince suffered even more. Usually the mind becomes cloudy, and control over the body is lost, and the prince seemed to even have hallucinations. If the Lord had been late, there would have been trouble. Well, now everything is in order, and Lord Eildor can go. But the knight was very interested in how the lady realized that the princess was being taken to this room. The emperor gave the lady this drink in her first life. Adele said she just guessed. Eildor asked if something had happened to the lady, but the princess said that it was nothing like that, so he doesn't have to worry. It's really time for the Lord. Yes, nothing to worry about. It won't happen again. The prince woke up and was greeted by a lady. Van jumped up in horror and asked what she was doing here in bed. The lady said she couldn't sleep if she was uncomfortable. The prince noticed that this medicine was so strange, and he asked if his actions had worked. Lady Adele Leopold confirmed this. The lady put her hand to the prince's forehead and asked him to tell him whether he felt hot or uncomfortable. It seems that the symptoms differ depending on the characteristics of the body. People asked if he could feel her hand and if he wanted to take a walk. The prince began to cover himself with a pillow. Adele didn't understand at all what he was doing. Van said he wouldn't cross the line, and she shouldn't either. The lady agreed to this. The main character noticed that he is at such a difficult age. Tomorrow they are leaving for the duchy. Leopold is calm and at ease, and the prince can do whatever he wants. This is her gift to him. Prince noticed that he has long been much freer than before. Even if someone protects him, he can feel this lightness. If so, then Princess Adele is very happy. But it's not at all clear to Van who will protect her. The model greeted the prince good morning. Nobody warned that it would be so early in the morning. The prince asked if she always gets up so early. This surprised Adele because she believed that everyone woke up at this time. Van couldn't believe that she was waking up even before the groom. The princess said that she had one more request. The maids entered the room. They were worried because yesterday she went on vacation and there was no news from her. It seemed like they were worrying for nothing. The maid looked at the bed, but nothing definite can be said about bed linen. Adele agreed to drink tea. The Duchess's appearance is no different from usual, and the fourth prince is nowhere to be seen. But suddenly, they heard his voice, which said that he did not intend to stay here for long. The princess said that she was not feeling very well, so she would like to rest. The maid offered to give her a massage. Adele agreed, if it wasn't difficult for her, of course. The maid noticed something strange on her shoulders near her neck. The princess believed that this was enough to begin their story. The emperor was sure that they had their first night. Since he is still too young, the emperor wanted everything to go smoothly, but it seems that he was worrying in vain. This meant that the training was successful. The emperor couldn't fail. That's not why the crown prince had to be used. It would be nice if the Duchess got pregnant the first time. However, at the moment, he is satisfied that intimacy happened at all. The engagement went well, so the prince deserved a gift from his father. He ordered medicine to be sent to the fourth prince from time to time to maintain his strength. 3 days later, the prince was shocked and asked Jack if he could see a windmill. Jack had never seen anything so huge. For Jack and the prince, in principle, a lot is new. Therefore, traveling on the train is very cool. The prince noticed that he was not strange. Adele said that's good. Van was ashamed of his childish excitement. Suddenly, he asked how far it was from here to the duchy. He wondered if they would have to spend the night on the road. Adele said that the train would arrive in Martin in 2 hours. There they will change into a carriage and go to Leopold. At the very least, they will arrive in Leopold, towards the west of the sun. The prince had never seen snacks served on a train before. He only heard that local sweets are sold at every stop. Lord Eildor bought it for them at the station. Suddenly, the princess remembered how her father bought them for her and said that she could order them whenever she wanted, but it was more fun to come and try it for herself. The lady took the crumb from the prince's face. The lord asked my lady to use a handkerchief. Adele was just thinking. The lord noticed that the prince should eat more carefully, and you can read it in the eyes. The lady suggested we go out and told us not to forget our luggage. The princess noticed that this was a station overlooking the sea, a very popular place among tourists. Many trains pass here, and they can catch the next one too, so there's no need to rush. The prince did not understand why, because it seemed to him that they were in a hurry. Adele said it's because it's more fun. The prince ran on the sea and was very happy. The lady noticed that he looked just like a dog, like a puppy who saw snow at birth. You can take off your mask at least for a little while to be able to breathe. At first glance, everything was as the emperor wanted, so there would be no interference for a while. From this moment begins the best time to become the head of the family. There had to be another way, and for the first time in all her lives, Adele broke her word to her father by choosing this child. Maybe it was Adele's stupid decision, but for some reason it doesn't always seem that way to her. Princip noticed that the Duchess did not enjoy this beautiful view. He knows that there will not be many such moments, so now she can forget about her worries for a while. Adele agreed with him. It's just wonderful. The prince noticed that it was like a dream, and he did not know what he would do next. But he is sure of one thing. He is waiting, looking forward to the future. Sometimes the fourth prince's words surprisingly coincide with her feelings. Adele said, with a smile, that she was also looking forward to it. Perhaps this time they will all survive. He is now Duke Leopold. The prince was shocked when he saw Duke Leopold's castle. The lady noticed that they would soon arrive at the place. The castle is much larger than Van could have imagined. Adele asked if he remembered what she asked him for. The principal remembered everything. Firstly, except for the Duchess, Lord Eildor and Jack, do not reveal your true identity to anyone. Secondly, Van can walk freely around the residence, but he is not allowed to go down into the dungeon. The princess said with a smile that everything was correct, and she asked him to remember this well again. Eldor asked the lady if the inhabitants of the castle will be surprised. At first I didn't even understand what he was talking about. The lady did not inform anyone from the family about her engagement to the fourth prince, but this has already spread all over the country. They probably know about everything. In her first life, the lady did not tell anyone about her marriage to Zernos. Back then, to some extent, they expected it. Now they must be somewhat surprised by Adele's unexpected engagement to the prince, whom everyone thinks is crazy. This is absurd. They might be upset. On the other hand, Adele regrets that because of her carelessness. The lady is afraid that they might treat the fourth prince coldly. The butler greeted the lady. She introduced Prince Hans, the butler of Leopold's estate. All the servants welcomed them to Leopold. They were also congratulated on their engagement. Everyone was very happy. Sarah also greeted and introduced herself as the senior maids of the estate. She said that she would show the prince a room. Van greeted everyone rather awkwardly. Adele apologized to Hans for not warning him, and I thought they were all very surprised. The man said they were surprised, but thought she had good reasons, and he hoped that this one would be a better person than the second prince. The lady jokingly said that he would scold her if she decided to marry him. The butlers said that this was not true. After all, she is the only one who has to choose. This is the most important thing for them, and they are glad that she returned in good health. Finally, the princess is home. The servants asked if the princess wanted more. Well, Adele refused and noticed that she was very worried about staying there for a very long time. Adele noticed that it was time for the children to go to bed. The prince did not understand whether she was drunk or just pretending. She wished everyone to have a good time, and so the prince decided that she was definitely drunk. The lady said that she would pick up His Highness. Lord Eildor told the lady that he would take care of her. The Lord asked if she was okay, because she drank too much. Adele said it was so wonderful to be at home. Eldor was also very happy about this. Now she looks as alive as before. The lady remarked that she would like another drink. It's just not fun to drink alone. The princess asked Lord Eildor if he would like to go to her room and have a drink with her. To be honest, Adele was surprised. She didn't expect everyone to react like that. The princess was a little worried, but everything turned out very well. Princess Adele asked His Highness what his impressions of Leopold were. Van said that he was very full. They didn't show it, but they cared very much about the fourth prince. Adele said that their attempts to take care of the prince were so sweet. Eldor also noticed that people received him very warmly. It's all because they believe in their lady. Adele said that she believes in Leopold and her father, and to him, Lord Eildor. She knows everyone was worried about it. As the head of the family, she worried about every step she took because she did not receive a proper education. If it were not for the bright memory of my father, such a warm and hospitable welcome as today would not have happened. But even Adele wants to lead this family to protect these people and this land and herself. Therefore, she wants Lord Eildor to believe in him as sincerely and deeply as he once believed in her father, seeing in him not just an ally, but also a reliable friend, ready to do anything for the common good. Eldor said that she says that they trust her because they believed in the Leopold family and its previous head, but that is not the case. Trust is not inherited, it must be earned. Each person must, through his actions and deeds, earn the trust of other people. They remember how a few years ago, when the squad led by the Duke disappeared, and the young lady who seemed about to faint, when she received news of her father's disappearance. Still, she said that it was too early to draw conclusions. She told Hans that they needed to assemble a search party and prepare horses, food, and medicine. She asked how many soldiers were left at the residence. First of all, it is worth determining how many people will be sent to the front line and how long they will remain as messengers. Adele told them that everything would be fine because her father was a strong man. Eldor will never forget that girl who, desperately holding back tears, inspired them. Even standing at the Duke's grave, her thoughts were occupied by Lord Eildor. The faith these people had in the lady was the result of her own actions and words, carefully woven to achieve her goals. Adele said that she was so stupid, incompetent, narrow-minded, and naive. Lord Eildor asked who dares to say such a thing. After the Duke's death, she changed a lot. The present did not smile and did not show her tears as before. He knows that this is a strong decision to protect Leopold. Whatever the lady's choice, Eldor will always support her. He's sure others will say the same. The princess simply burst into tears at his words. Adele was incredibly grateful to Eldor as a real knight who saved her at a difficult moment. He was her support and protector. The Lord knelt before her and said that he would raise his sword for her and give his life for her. He will protect her no matter the cost. And so Adele has a request for him. She really wants him to become the prince's teacher. There is a path leading to the outhouse here. The prince asked Jack what he was looking at. The groom boasted that this was given to him by the other services of the residence. A book about the history of Leopold. The prince noticed that they were very kind. It wasn't like her. They've been here for a week now, and the prince still hasn't seen Adele. And he became very interested in what she was so busy with. The castle is really big. She probably has a lot to do. But in any case, a week is too long. Suddenly, someone called the prince. It was Hans. He said that my lady had prepared something for him. Lord Eildor informed him that from today onwards, he would be teaching His Highness. The prince was in complete shock. The man told the gentleman that his face was darker than a cloud. He was surprised that there were clouds there. After all, the sun shines so much that it's blinding. The gentleman said that he understood what he meant, but the guy said he had no idea. He believed that it was all because of that problem. He simply could not believe that the ruler of the world could also be so worried. It's so amazing. The man said that if he kept buzzing, he would kill him like a fly. The gentleman laughed it off and told him to calm down. And this is their common problem. The Leopold family's enormous wealth is certainly a blessing, but it needs protection. In addition, it is important to be at the forefront of the monster hunting group. He in no way belittles the merits of the young lady who replaced the former duke. However, the trouble is that one cannot expect big victories from the fourth prince who in the future will become the new head of the House of Leopold. The head of the Leopold family has many responsibilities, ensuring prosperity and security of owned lands, maintaining peace throughout the server. This is the axis that maintains balance. However, they respect the lady's choice. Then I at least need to find someone who will help guard the territory. And it is necessary to appoint a commander of the Knights of the Duchy as quickly as possible. Without funds, no expeditions are possible. Everything is the same. The knight noticed that even if there is money, the territory is not safe yet, and people should not be allowed there. In addition, a trade route has already been established to distribute the resources of the duchy. But what's the point if there is no one to collect them? The lady completely agrees with this. However, this is not a hindrance to them. Mrs. Dal is not going to interrupt the history of prosperity of the duchy, and she will find and imagine a way to maintain balance without stopping development, and they will decide how effective her plan is. The atmosphere became tense. Hans noticed that the lady was probably very tired after this meeting, so today he must pay special attention to dinner. Hans was simply surprised. Mistress Adele did a great job and looks absolutely beautiful. Duchess Adele said that she learned everything from her father. They had not held meetings for a long time, so the lady expected it to drag on for a long time. In addition, the situation was tense due to recent events. Adele said that it took a lot of work to resolve all the contradictions. Hans noticed that everyone came out with such serious faces, and fortunately, there was still time before dinner, so the lady could rest. The princess agreed. Then she asked where His Highness was now. She came to Lord Ealdor's lesson. The knight said that His Highness did a good job in the first lesson. From the outside, it looked like parental supervision, and the prince was surprised because they had not seen each other for a week. The prince believed that the toilet must have been very busy. The princess confirmed this and noted that due to the protracted journey, she had been absent for a long time. And she added that His Highness also has a lot to do. This is all the basis for any aristocrat. The princess thinks that the learning process is going too slowly. Lord Ealdor remarked that he had heard that His Highness had received no education at the palace. As expected, not too thick. We'll have to make up for everything. This was the first parent meeting. His Highness is too small and weak for his age. The Lord said not to worry about this matter. And the prince was shocked because he and the princess were only 2 years apart. The Lord himself said that the prince was small, but this has nothing to do with his strength and endurance. Van thought he was a creepy person. Classes, training. Even if the prince learned something, it would be useless. He must make a fool of himself. But Adele said that this is not true. Learning is not just about accumulating knowledge. This is a study of the lives of people who have had this experience before. Challenges and successes, failures and regrets, culture and history. Through all of this, he indirectly experiences the world in various fields. The more the prince learns, reads, and understands, the more he will gain. No matter what kind of life His Highness will lead, all this will come in handy. The lady noted with a smile that this was such a banal explanation. The prince did not agree with her, because he understood everything. Wang admitted that this was actually interesting, especially mathematics. It's so cute when the prince awkwardly tries to express his feelings. The princess noticed that if the prince studied hard, she would fulfill his wish. This surprised Van, and he asked again. Adele said she meant things he wanted, or places he wanted to visit. Everything in her power. The prince said that he would think about it. The prince was given a reward for completing today's test. Adele asked if Lord bought it on purpose. Ealdor said that the learning process should be interesting. Moreover, today His Highness tried very hard. The prince was very happy because this was his first award. He said that he would open it later with Jack. Now he behaves according to his age. Adele noticed that Jack would definitely like it. While he was extremely careful and kept his blade ready, he tried to hide his feelings. Princip was very grateful to the teacher. The Lord said that he could address him as usual. The prince obeyed. Now he feels much better. Someone called the lady. It was Heinz's voice. The lady did not understand what was going on, and the butler reported that a guest had arrived from the imperial palace. The man said that sending an uneducated prince to the faithful Duchess Leopold was a disgrace for the empire. Therefore, they send Mr. Garrett to His Highness Paredes to fill in the missing knowledge and teach the rules of etiquette. They also give a gift for Lady Leopold herself. This is all from the Emperor of the Aleutian Empire, Diamond Vincent Athanasius. Princess Adele Leopold takes the Emperor's blow. The man said that from now on, he would help His Highness, and he will make every effort so that the prince can establish himself as a worthy husband. This cunning move by the Emperor is worthy of praise. He just wants to keep following her. We'll have to wait and see how he acts. Eldor told Jack that he was very sorry. He knows how well he gets along with the prince, but there is nothing he can do. Jack said that everything is correct. Someone like him cannot be a servant of His Highness. This is already complete absurdity. The Lord told him not to say that. His Highness, Lady, and everyone else are also upset, including the Lord. He will do everything in his power to keep Jack here. Jack would like to work as a groom in the duchy. The prince thought about telling the lady that he did not like the man, but the Emperor sent him, and even Adele won't be able to do anything about it. The man approached the prince, and the guy remembered all the moments when he beat him. But Garrett sat down next to him and asked how he was doing. This surprised the prince quite a bit. Today there are even more of them. Everyone noticed Lord Garrett. Be that as it may, he is a bad person. He won't let them play with His Highness. The maid asked if they were even aware that His Highness was not the same age as them. But the guys said that the prince was always willing to play with them. And this evil man ruined everything. One of them heard that yesterday he went to the kitchen and offended the cook there, and today too. The maid confirmed this, but she said that they shouldn't meddle in my business, and they could better go for a walk. But they all wanted to go with His Highness. Garrett asked the prince what he learned in today's lesson. The prince said that by order of His Majesty, a magical railway was laid across the entire empire, and this became the main one. Garrett noticed that his memory had improved. He hopes that no one here will laugh at him, so the prince should relax. All the people here are good. However, he should not take this at face value. This is natural. No one needs him. They pretend to be kind because they care about the young lady, but they don't care about the prince at all. The prince again began to believe that he was still useless. Garrett asked His Highness what was required of him. This is to do what His Majesty says. Garrett noted that everything is correct, and he is the man whom His Majesty sent. That is, his words express the will of the Emperor, and the prince must understand this, realizing the importance and responsibility of his actions. It's been 10 days since Garrett arrived to them. He does not leave the prince a single step. I leave him only during lessons with Eldor. However, he does nothing. He used to be so shy and noisy when he first came to them. The lady noticed that the prince must be very tired today, and he might even be having a nightmare. Constantly watching him made his condition even worse, increasing his feelings of anxiety and discomfort. It is true that they are together for the common benefit, but Adele worries that he is suffering because of her. The princess thinks about this often. Lady Leopold asked the prince for forgiveness and said that she would definitely set him free. When the prince woke up, he saw a lady next to him. He was very scared, but at the same time, I was surprised why she didn't wake up. She scared him a lot. When the lady woke up, the prince said that he had worked late and slept for so long, but he was still surprised that he woke up before the lady. He believed that the princess was tired. Van said that she could still sleep. Suddenly the lady hugged him and told him that everything would be fine. He wished her sweet dreams. The guy didn't understand why she said that, because he was silent. He was very interested in how she always notices everything and takes care of him. The prince was again in class. Suddenly he noticed that the giveaway had come again. It was very strange because she did not come to the first classes. He became very interested in why she was so interested now. No one cares about him except Jack and Adele. The prince deliberately pretended to be stupid so as not to attract attention. From the moment they first met, Adele became his dream. Eldor thanked him for his efforts and informed him that time was up. The prince asked to wait because he had not finished yet. Lord Eildor noted that completing a task within a certain time is also a kind of test. The prince knew this. Eldor told the lady that during classes, he noticed that he had an exceptional talent for mathematics. Adele approached the prince and asked if he liked mathematics. Wang responded positively. He thought that mathematics consisted only of numbers and 4 basic operations, and that the answer could only be right or wrong. It's amazing how many ways there actually are to solve a problem. And when the prince finds a new one, he feels lightness and freedom. Adele thought he also had the ability to carry out private operations. The princess asked Lord Eildor to take care of the prince. Works. This should really work. The 4th prince had a familiar but pleasant feeling of anxiety that reminded him of the excitement before important events. That's all for today. In principle, I didn't understand what the lady needed these ordinary clothes for. Adele said something for disguise because she wants to take a walk. The prince said that Garrett would go with them, but the princess said not to worry about him because he won't wake up until tomorrow morning. The 4th principal was interested in what she did. The lady said that it was nothing and warned him not to get into the habit of drinking a lot in the future. The prince was not sure that this was enough of a disguise, video princess with bright red hair that everyone recognizes. But the lady said there is one option. The local landscape is very different from the capital. There are many volcanoes here. The prince could not get used to Adele's new image. She drank a magic potion that could temporarily change her hair color. Van was surprised that her hair color had changed so dramatically. His heart was beating so strangely, and he believed that this was due to new sensations that overwhelmed him and forced him to experience emotions unfamiliar to him. They say that Leopold's ancestors did not like tall buildings. They also believed that volcanoes have protective powers. The prince agreed with her as never before. Van thought it was truly a wonderful place. Here I am as bright and colorful as on the streets of the capital, but people look so happy. Lord Eildor noted that when the prince does not care what others think of him, he looks much happier. Adele asked with a smile if the disguise worked well. After all, now he doesn't need to pretend. Suddenly the principal began to think, and he himself realized that the mask of an idiot no longer protected him. She became his cage. He came out of his thoughts when Adele and Lord Eildor called him. Adele asked if he wanted anything. The prince thought about it, and the lady noticed that they had not gone out for a long time, and she wanted to give him a souvenir. The princess doesn't put any pressure on him. She just wants him to say if he likes anything during the walk. The prince thought for a while and said that in that case he wanted her to buy him flowers. This rather surprised the lady. After all, it was unexpected for her. Adele did not think that she would choose flowers for him, and she wondered how long he had liked them. People asked if he wanted a specific flower, or maybe it should be a certain color. The prince chose one chrysanthemum flower. The princess was surprised because these flowers are used to weave wreaths for funerals. But Van knew about this and noted that if he had the money, he would have bought it himself. But now he can't, so he asks the lady about it. Because he wants to honor the memory of the lady's dear father, Adele's face immediately turned red, expressing her touching gratitude and deep emotions. Van asked what was wrong with her. The princess replied that she simply did not expect him to talk about her father. Adele was deeply grateful for his care and attention, and also for the fact that he always remembered her, even in small things. His constant support and kindness warmed her heart, filling it with joy. The prince said that it was very natural, and there was nothing special about it. Therefore, he does not understand why thank him. The princess admitted that among all members of the imperial family he stood out for his special mercy. This became an undoubted fact for her. The 4th prince couldn't believe it. Lord Eildor intervened in the conversation and added that he had a very kind heart. Van had already decided that they were laughing at him, feeling embarrassed and offended. However, Lord Eildor, noticing his condition, smiled gently and reassuringly said that this was not so at all, and it was all a misunderstanding. And Adele noticed that this is a very valuable quality, and so she sincerely thanks him for thinking about her father. And the princess decided to tell him in his ear that it was lovely. They had to hurry to get to him. Garrett again gave the prince medicine, and he said that this was a valuable remedy for improving his health, so he should take it. After all, he is the heir to the emperor. The prince believed that if it were really so valuable, he would drink it himself, and after that, the prince must tell everything that he knows. He is obliged to convey all the information received without omitting any important details in order to ensure a complete understanding of the situation. Garrett thought that this woman was so stupid for choosing him, the fourth prince. The man asked if they were having a good time together. Now His Majesty will easily take the Duchy of Leopold, and it's all thanks to Garrett. That red hair, it's so desirable. The man asked the prince if he was sure that he had spent the night with her. Although such words are often uttered, failure in this case was quite expected, because if the prince had done everything right, then she would not have continued to call herself the temporary head of the family. Garrett said that if he were in his place, who would have forced them to obey him? And after these words, the prince hit this bastard right on the chin. What he said offended Adele, so he should apologize. Garrett grabbed the prince by the neck and said that he was truly hopeless. The teacher gives him a chance to save his life. Well, if he continues to behave like this, then he will no longer teach him. The prince grabbed something in his hands and hit his teacher with it. Garrett thought he was truly crazy. This behavior is unacceptable. The prince again told him that an apology was necessary. Immediately, he must ask for forgiveness without delay. His voice was insistent. His eyes sparkled. Apologize, and do it now. People entered the room, and Garrett immediately began to ask for help and apologize to the Majesty, saying that he will do whatever he wants. He screamed endlessly and screamed for help. He couldn't believe it wasn't madness, and that His Highness had grabbed a candlestick and was swinging it like a sword. But no one thought that a messenger from the imperial family could be trusted. All the household members speak well of the prince and say that he could not do such a thing. Garrett said this is just the beginning, and that this could happen again when His Highness begins to stick to you. Lady Adele must call off the engagement. It is useless to say anything to those who do not know the truth. This is an absolute lie. The prince sat in the shade of a bush, trying to avoid the disappointment of both Adele and everyone else. He heard someone say that when he saw the lady today, he began to doubt whether she could properly perform the duties of the head of the family. Bring the fourth prince to the house as his groom, who will now think about the dukedom. Van understood that it was all because of him. It's all because of him. Adele loves Leopold like no one else. The fourth prince's incompetence harmed Adele, and he can't even help her. Van simply hated himself and decided that he had better go to the stables so that no one would see him. He was sure that there was no one in this place because he had heard that there was usually no one there. This sound, it's like someone is fighting with swords. The prince was shocked that the lady also practiced fencing. It's so amazing. Even if he doesn't know what kind of sword it is, he can tell that she wields it amazingly. Duchess Adele shows significantly more skill in battle than her future husband, the fourth prince. Heinz said that the lady had received a letter. It bears the seal of the Union State. Thank God it was unlikely, but Adele was afraid that something would go wrong. The lady noted that it looks like this month will be even busier. There are issues that need to be resolved immediately. We need to get rid of Garrett. This involves developing strategies to prevent the emperor's possible interference in actions or decisions. In this case, in Adele's absence, everything should be fine with His Highness the fourth prince. How will they react when they find out about this? Lord Eildor asked the lady if something had happened. The princess said she was just passing by. Today, the prince is exploring Leopold's resources. Pura is Leopold's most important resource. 60% of the Pura supplied to the continent is mined in Leopold. Red magic crystal with powerful condensed energy. The prince is very interesting what he looks like in real life. The prince noticed that in the book he looked like a pearl, and so he wondered if this was really the case. Adele wanted to say something to the Lord about today's lesson. They will escort him outside. The principal asked how long they still needed to go. He was already covered in sweat and almost blue from fatigue. The princess said that they were almost there. The prince has heard this about 10 times already. Van almost fell to the ground from fatigue, but the princess managed to grab him and take him in her arms. She asked if she needed to carry it, to which the prince replied that he was not so tired. "I'm just not used to climbing mountains." The princess was grateful to him for his efforts. They have already completed the climb. All you need now is an artifact with ice magic." The prince felt a pleasant chill, and at the same time decided to ask why he had to dress like that. Adele is sure that he will realize the essence only when they are on the spot, in the context of the events or situation that she has in mind. The prince was hot. Even with the artifact he felt it. Sweat ran down his forehead, and his breathing became heavier. Every step was difficult, despite the magical protection. Wang turned to Duchess Adele. The lady believed that it was very difficult for the prince. Once again, she offered to carry him. Wang said that he just wanted to ask if she was hot. Adele noticed that she was Leopold. Thanks to the gift of the red dragon, the descendants of this family have an amazing ability to easily withstand high temperatures. In that case, the prince was always curious about why she was so tall. Van believed that this was also a feature of the Leopold family. The princess also believed, and she told His Highness not to worry. After all, if he eats well and works out hard, he will definitely grow too. It seemed to the guy that he was only good at talking. The words flowed easily and beautifully. He always knew what to say and how to make an impression, but other things were difficult. They're already there. Therefore, Adele asked if the prince would like to take a look at that same Pura. The further they go, the more samples they will be able to see. They are here because the prince was interested in looking at the Pura, but the princess could have things to do. But she still came here for him. The prince believed that this heat came from the Pura, but this is not true. Other Pura deposits are so hot to me. It is hot here because it is an active volcano that can erupt at any time. Now, Van understood where the legend of the sleeping dragon came from. Adele admitted that she hasn't seen it, but it definitely exists. The fact is that the Pura in this mine has an extremely high mana content, and this is all thanks to the dragon. Adele warned that the prince should not come here alone. Otherwise, he might get lost and dry out. She got him one pebble and said it was a gift. She thinks the prince liked the Pura. Therefore, she wanted to give him the largest and most beautiful stone, for which they had come all this way. The prince apologized. Adele didn't understand why. Wang said that she was in trouble due to the recent incident, and he had already received a lot of the Duchess. But it only bothers her. And today she must have been busy. Well, she dropped everything to bring him here. But Adele said that this is not so. She came here with him because she wanted to choose a gift for him and give it to him personally. Wang said that she left the imperial palace because of him and is now forced to suffer. Adele suggested not to regret anything, and the prince agreed with him. Adele asked him to wait 3 years because by then it will all be over. Van wondered what would happen in 3 years. Adele told him that His Highness would take off his mask regardless of whether the prince became her husband or not. He will be completely free. The prince believed that he should have been happy hearing Adele's words back in the cave. He didn't understand why he still felt abandoned after this. He thought that having received what he wanted, he would find peace. But instead, he felt only emptiness and loneliness. What Adele said is true. He thought he wanted to be free, but he never imagined how he would live. In 3 years, if Wang leaves, he will face uncertainty about his future and will not be able to predict what he will do. But now there is something more important. Today is the time to put the plan into action. Model, there is no useful information. In her first life, they got rid of her as soon as she gave birth to a child, and the causes of death in the second and third remained a mystery to her. The royal family is again waiting for her to give birth to a child. Yes, it's not just the cause of Adele's death. Before making vague guesses, it is better to approach this wisely. It's very interesting why the emperor needs a child. Blood of Leopold, legends and blessings, heir. If so, the basement. If a person is a huge relative of the Leopold family, then he can go there, but only the head of the family can open the secret door. The princess could not believe that the emperor knew what was behind the door. She thought that his power and omniscience did not extend to such trifles. Her heart was pounding with anxiety, and her thoughts were racing, unable to find peace. Adele thought about what she did in her past life. The princess was doing research, and then she remembered that she had forgotten something. In her previous life, she wanted to know what the Emperor's intentions were. Adele tried to figure it out again and again. However, the princess does not remember at all what exactly she did and what she managed to find. The lady was very interested in why she had not considered this strange until now. Her memory is failing her. Adele decided to go to the basement, driven by curiosity. However, as soon as she descended the creaky steps and felt the damp, musty air, she changed her mind and hurriedly returned upstairs. Heinz ran up to her and said that he was looking for her because she was not in the office. The lady was thinking about something, and her eyes suddenly darkened. Heinz grabbed her, but the girl said everything was fine and she just had a headache. The man noticed that she didn't look very good and asked if she was confident that everything was okay. Adele said everything was fine. Turning back, she saw that the prince had fallen down the stairs. Adele ran up to him. It's good that there was no blood near him. A man ran up to Garrett and grabbed him. The teacher said that he only pushed him away. The man said that he was just scared. He's the one who usually sits quietly, but now he's making noise. Van is deliberately trying to get him into trouble. The mistress ordered him to stop because he had already said enough. The lady ordered him to be seized and locked up. The teacher shouted that this was a mistake. This was the teacher's punishment. Luke has already been sent for the doctor. The mistress ordered Heinz to keep an eye on him to make sure Garrett didn't escape. Broken bottles and invited spectators. Garrett's failure. A very well-planned move, but absolutely reckless. This is the serene, calm face of the prince. He probably didn't expect to fall down the stairs. There is magic in the air. Coincidentally, the fourth prince is the owner of magical powers. If not for the danger, his magical abilities would have gone unnoticed, and he would have died. What a fool. The emperor's children always bullied the fourth prince. The grain tore his drawing. To be despised for being born a servant. They said Van looked good on the floor. The bullying from this guy, who considered himself better than everyone else, gave rise to an inferiority complex in the fourth prince. After he was considered a fool, he simply ceased to exist. Constant ridicule has become something natural. But now he hates this naturalness. A person who cannot be relied upon, and a person who relies on only one thing. The prince doesn't want to be like that anymore. This is his truth. Suddenly the guy woke up. Adele asked him not to get up. The princess was very interested in whether he was okay and whether something hurt him. Van said he was fine. He is very interested in what happened to his teacher Garrett. What happened to him? Now he is behind bars. The princess did not understand at all what had happened. Wang said that he wanted to get rid of Garrett in this way. Make him angry by insisting that he refuses to take his medication. He broke all the bottles that were there. But Garrett was much more angry than he expected. The prince did not think at all that he would fall, and that everything will turn out this way. It is difficult to get rid of a person sent by the emperor. But since he openly threatened a member of the imperial family, and he hit him, Adele should have done it. The princess explained to Vaughn that it was too reckless to use herself as bait. It's great luck that everything worked out fine. There were so many variables in this regard. Adele did not understand at all how he could do this without saying a word to her. After all, if something had gone wrong, the prince could have died. Wang justified himself by saying that he did it for the sake of the people of the duchy. After all, the lady was also worried about the castle, and now they have a reason to kick Garrett out. Adele didn't understand and asked why he was worried about her. If he had sat quietly, Princess Leopold would have dealt with this sooner or later anyway. He must think about himself. The prince did not quite understand what she meant. After all, he said that he wants to be free. The prince longed for this with all his soul, not only for his own good, but also for the happiness of Duchess Adele. And he wanted to try to do something so he doesn't think it's completely wrong. The prince tried to stop Adele. The lady said that following the doctor's advice, he needed to rest for a few days and not get up too much. Jack came to the prince. He said with a smile that it seemed that the Duchess was here. But when he saw Van, he didn't understand at all what was wrong with him. I asked if the prince had any problems. This is all because the Duchess was very worried. The prince himself knew that it lasted on him because of excitement. Van is so sorry that he made her worry. Jack asked why the prince broke all those vials, expressing surprise and curiosity. Van turned away and said that they made him angry. He makes himself angry, but in the end, it's nothing like that. Princess Adele decided to visit Garrett. He said that he would never do this on purpose, and she should know about it herself. Garrett only repeated that His Highness was making a big deal out of a mountain, and while he was trying to calm him down, he slipped. Lady Adele told him that she had the testimony of 6 people, and they saw with their own eyes how he pushed the prince. The teacher has been drinking a lot lately, so I guess he has memory problems. The teacher shouted to the Duchess that the Emperor himself had sent him here, and he is his right hand. It doesn't matter who she is, but she has no right to treat him like that. The theft of funds issued for the maintenance of the 4th prince, as well as the theft of the property of Duchess Leopold, received in honor of the betrothal. And the most important crime of this teacher Garrett is the attempt on the life of a member of the imperial family. Adele said that she would personally ask His Majesty the Emperor to come here over him. She won't leave it all as it is. Garrett Artem. He betrayed his duty and assisted the prince for personal gain, squandered the royal treasury, and caused harm to the imperial family. All these illegal trees endangered the authority of the imperial family. Duchess Leopold humbly asks His Majesty to pronounce judgment on him. Adele said that they completely trusted him, believed in him, because he was sent by His Majesty. They provided him with everything he needed. The Duchy of Leopold could not even imagine that he was capable of crimes that undermined the reputation of the imperial family. Having discovered the embezzlement of funds, they repeatedly investigated, but found only indirect evidence. But he went so far as to harm the prince. Garrett shouted to the Emperor that he was devoted to him with all his heart. The Emperor strictly forbade him to utter a word and remained silent, giving the lady the opportunity to continue the conversation in their presence. His Highness was lucky to avoid serious injury, but if he did get hurt, the princess could not stand it and burst into tears. The Emperor said that he understood her feelings. The incident that occurred due to the fault of the man sent to look after the princes of the lady upsets him. Adele stood in tears and said that she could not protect His Highness and was very grateful for the understanding and support. This is so generous of the Emperor. She once again asks him to give this criminal due punishment. The Emperor promised to sentence him, but now he had to be taken away. The teacher shouted that the Emperor had promised him that he would protect him. This man will be executed tomorrow at dawn. Garrett could not come to terms with this and continued to scream and call for His Majesty. The 4th prince contained an unconditional victory. It can't end like this. Adele informed His Highness that thanks to this incident, she realized that in order to protect His Highness, she must change. The princess made this decision herself, as did the head of the family Leopold, the imperial sword. Adele doesn't want to suffer any more losses. Because of my weakness, therefore, she asks to be allowed to enter the Union Academy Imsium in order to gain more knowledge about this world. The Emperor asked again whether she said it was an allied academy and not even an imperial one. Adele said that if she entered the Imperial Academy, there would be people who would be unhappy with it. However, even after entering the Union Academy, Dali would not be able to leave his post for a long period. And with his permission, she would like to leave for a short 2-year period. The Emperor was surprised and asked if he had been studying at the academy for 5 years. Adele does not think that the person leading the family and protecting His Highness needs to go through the full period of training at the academy. Given the opportunity, Adele would expand her horizons in just 2 years, after which she would be able to serve the imperial family better than before. The Emperor asked again if she wanted 2 years. This is a high-class fury used only in emergency situations, even in the capital and empire. As a token of gratitude, Adele decided to give him this gift from the Leopold family every year for every special event. The Emperor agrees. Milady returned home. Heinz noted that the lady must be very tired today. The Duchess was grateful. The butlers asked the lady to rest, but Adele said she still had some work to do. Adele must find a person who will monitor the Emperor during her absence. Irina carefully monitors every step of the aristocracy, possessing information about their movements and actions. But for spying on the Emperor, Viscountess Martina, who is responsible for politics and left her son in the capital, is better suited. It will be important below to demonstrate in what relation it consists with the fourth principle and firmly establish your position. Adele asked the butler how His Highness's recovery was going. The doctor said that tomorrow he will be able to get back on his feet. This is good. Adele was planning to have a banquet in the near future. Heinz promised to look into it. Princess Adele was counting on him. They must show everyone that power in the north belongs to the Leopold family. The princess came to Van. He used himself as a pawn in this game. He defended his mistress, claiming that he was doing this of his own free will. Adele tries to suppress her feelings of guilt, but this child continues to evoke in her feelings that she wants to avoid. Adele didn't understand at all what to do with him. It was hard for the prince to lie in bed for 3 days. Today he was finally able to get up. I was very surprised when I saw a note on the table that said that Van should not make mistakes.